So
It's
do you
been
believe
years
that we
since
can
you've been
navigate by
to.
the stars? Geo, do you believe that we can navigate by stars?
Yeah, of course.
Then how do you do that in the south when the south stars get smaller, not bigger?
Well, before we shift topics, Wesley, were you going to say something on that topic?
No, mine was a little bit even more off topic, so go for it.
About tides. Is it from the south? The Asians and the Australians took the tides to South America.
Yeah, I mean, there's two rotations in the sky, and you can celestially navigate between those two rotations using stars. Yeah.
And they get
But
smaller as they go, and you get smaller as you go south. It doesn't get bigger like you would need on a flat Earth.
I don't know what you mean by get. I don't know what you mean by get smaller. You mean they get tighter, closer together, and make a rotation?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. It just reflects. It's like a reflection of the
So now
north.
you've got two circles in the side, but on the celestial equator, they don't separate and rejoin, which you would need. I mean, if you put two circles side by side, they're only going to touch on one point. And therefore, there should be heaps of sky with no stars in it. But nobody's ever seen that, have they?
We were on a
Like, where are
different
your
topic.
where are
We
your
were on a
pictures of
different topic.
the sky with
Um,
no stars in it? That's what I would need to believe that
Okay,
there were two poles over a flat Earth.
it is a total
Really?
topic change. But wait, what was the last thing you said?
Of
In topic.
the sky with
Um,
no stars in it. That's what I would need to believe that
okay,
there were two poles over a flat Earth.
it is a total
Really?
topic change. But wait, what was the last thing you said? We were on a different topic, so. Okay, so Robert Silverman said $75,000 is all you need. You can go to the South Pole. That's it. Case closed. No, that would not. To do what? All that shows is that there's two poles.
And two poles won't work over a flat Earth. Like, how do you not get that?
So,
How are you going to have two poles side by side on a flat Earth and still have a celestial equator where the stars don't separate? Like, do you agree that if you had two poles side by side, there would be a patch of sky where there were no stars? Do you agree with that?
nope.
No.
No.
How are you geometrically going to get them to work?
Because in reality, there is no spot in the sky where there are no stars. At least as far as
Correct. Therefore, your theory is wrong, isn't it? That's what it would suggest. Your theory is
How about you
separation point.
steel man my theory of flat Earth? Like,
I'm
tell
just
me
telling you
what
what doesn't work. You give me the options and I'll tell you why it doesn't work.
I can tell
You
you
tell me
that
why it does work, why two celestial poles will work when there's no separation zone.
I don't understand what you mean by separation zone.
Because if you put two circles side by side, they only touch on one point, which is the celestial equator. Yet we see everything moving on the celestial equator going around. They don't separate.
Where do you see side-by-side circles in the sky?
On the celestial equator.
You see two circles side by side from the celestial equator?
You see them moving. You're the one that says there's two side by side. I don't believe there are two side by side, and I don't believe you can see it. You're the one that says there are, so you need to tell me where the separation point and joining point is again.
All right, can we just reset for a minute? So we were on a totally different topic. Trouble About came in, and then Rob.
All right, sorry.
But also, Rob never even said these things you're saying. So this is just like a totally different thing. Is this what we're shifting to? Because I mean, we're talking about celestial navigation. We're talking about the stars.
Yeah, in the south. Well, I'm talking about the south.
Oh my gosh! Now you're just interrupting me.
How do you navigate in the south if the stars aren't going around Polaris like most flat earthers believe?
That's where the convo broke off from that. Yeah. So what would be the issue with navigating? You have two rotations. So yeah, for terms of navigation, did you believe the A.E. Gleason's map or something, or are you somehow going off of that concept or something?
Well, you've only got two models. You've got one with the North Pole in the middle and everything going around it, or you've got Shane's version of them two side by side. Is there a third option?
Don't make me post my model again. Everybody gets mad when I post my model.
What, even the flat earthers don't agree with you? Wow, that should tell you something, shouldn't it?
Yeah, so if you have a two-pole planar Earth with two poles, and like people have already talked about the A.E. Gleason's map, the one in the north, and how the stars, like Polaris would be at the center and it goes out in a planar fashion. If you just have another one of those, the celestial navigation nothing would change in the south in terms of the stars expanding outward or anything. It would just be two poles. that the stars,
thing is-
when you were saying getting closer together, like you can navigate using the northern sky, the celestial area, or the southern. So whichever region of the Earth you're in, you're just going to be looking at one of the two poles, which obviously they have different stars, but they look pretty similar in a way, like the way that they are making their rotations. Like they look like a polarity of
Well,
each
could I
other.
ask
Obviously,
you-
when you look at the details, the stars are different, but at the same time, they look very similar. And then you have the equatorial region. So with those three regions, you can always navigate within those over a planar surface.
Can I ask you, if you put two circles side by side, do they touch more than just one point?
If they're perfect circles,
On these two circles beside
Well, we
each
see
other.
them
aren't
doing perfect circles. That's what our cameras record them doing, perfect circles. So yes. So can you have
No,
two
there's no-
perfect circles side by side where they touch more than just one point?
I think you're fallacious because there's no such thing as a perfect circle. Plus, if we're
I
supposedly
think you're changing the
traveling,
topic. Just answer my question.
if we're supposedly
Can you have
traveling,
two circles side by side where they touch more than one point? Yes or
Okay,
okay.
so
no?
hung up.
All right, well, hold on. He was speaking. Can we not interrupt, please? You've been doing it a lot, so can we not do that, please? Just let people speak. I don't know who you were asking the
Fine.
question to, but either way, Rob was speaking. Let's at least let him talk uninterrupted. Go ahead, Rob.
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't understand why she's so hung up on these counter-rotating sun circles.
Because I live in the South and you guys are lying about the South. So I'd like to know, can you show me
I lie.
two circles side by side where they touch on more than just one point to match the sky that we see on the celestial equator? Can you do that?
You don't see two circles from the celestial equator. We already discussed that. You said no, it isn't like that, and I didn't say
I know-
that.
I know what she's saying, though. She's saying that if there's two poles, then it would be like taking a sphere and cutting it in half and putting the two humps, both halves side by side to each other, and there would only be one point that they would touch. Be like, if you cut a sphere in half and you put the flat, smooth part that's down on the table on each hump, you would have basically two humps sticking up. Where they're touching at that one point is what she's saying, but we don't see it touching in one point. We see it as if it's a sphere stuck together all the way around the celestial equator. We don't see it as like
Yeah, the
two
sky's
humps
amazing.
with two rotational
The
points.
sky's not amazing. It's perfectly explainable on a globe. No magic,
Yeah,
no
but
amazing
so-
to it at all.
The thing is, though,
But how-
Cole, is that when you're looking at the stars making those circles,
Amazing is perfectly explainable on a globe. No magic, no
Yeah, but
amazingness
so-
to it at all.
the thing is, though,
But how-
Cole, is that when you're
how-
looking at the stars making those circles, that only happens to the stars that are like further towards the north or further to the south. Because when you get to the in-between point, I'm just going to post a few images I have on
Yes.
my folder here.
They go straight across.
Hold
Perfect.
on.
So how do you
Please
have
don't interrupt. Sorry, I'm just going to temporarily mute you. Please don't interrupt. Don't do that right now. Please don't clip and interrupt and just shout out over people. I'll give you the respect time you to speak, and please offer that to others as well. Otherwise, it's just very disruptive. So let me just finish real quick. So I'm posted. I just temporarily muted you just for a sec. I don't want to have to do that, but just please don't do that. I just literally was about to post some images and wanted to give my point. So I'm posting a few images here of the two rotations, and the thing is that you see how like right around the poles they are more circular, but as now some of these are panoramics and so on. So, but we can pull up ones that are not panoramics as well. But the stars basically blend. They go from those circles and then they blend. They end up going straight, and then they start making wider circles, which get smaller and smaller towards the other pole. So my point was to say that even though they look like concentric circles in the time-lapse ones of either pole, as it goes further and further south, they don't keep making those perfect circles. They expand out essentially and go straight like an electric field. So they're not circles that would touch at one point. They're actually a blend of two rotations, just like a magnetic field lines and the way water flows and a bunch of things in nature function this way.
Yeah, I was just saying it to clarify what she was saying. That's all.
Well, that's not true, and you know it. They don't get further apart, and they don't get closer together, and you know that, and I know you know that.
Okay, well, I'm not going to accept anything what you think. You think you know something. I've never stated anything of the sort. What I'm saying is that they blend in the center. They don't touch at one point. The circles turn into a blending section. Like no matter what you think the Earth is, if you were in the equatorial region, you see basically if you're right on the equator, you'd see half of the rotation of the north and the half of the rotation of the south. Kind of like the one No Tanks just had reposted, the one that I posted. And then in the middle, you see the stars going straight, but then just to the left of the middle, just to the right of the middle, those angles are not the same circular radius as the ones that are right near the pole. That's why it shows that they're like splayed out at the center. And then they
So
go
are you
to being
saying
straight. Two circles end up being straight in the center, so it has to expand from circular to straight and then back to circular.
so you're saying that they get further away and then closer together? Do you have any proof of that? Because everything I understand that doesn't happen at all. They
No, I
say
didn't
the
say they
same
change.
distance from each
No,
other.
I'm not making a point saying they change in relation to each other. I'm saying they change in relation to where they are in the sky, to like the position they're in. Like the ones right around Polaris are making a very tight radius that has a certain radius to it, right? And then if you were to go a little bit further, if you get all the way close to the equator, the radius becomes so large that it goes straight at the equator. That's how large the
How does
radius
that?
of that circle ends up being. So it expands
How does
out.
that happen if you've got?
The stars change in relation to
Sorry.
each other. I'm saying they change in their angle of circularness as they go to the equator and blend.
So how do you have the straight lines going over the equator if you've got two circles side by side that only touch on one point? How do you get this continual line around the celestial equator?
They don't meet at one point. You've been the one saying they meet at one point over and over. I have said specifically
then
they do.
How do you put two circles side by side and have them matching in more than one place? Have them touching in more than one place?
Because it extends out from circular to straight and then back to circular. So it
therefore,
blends, just like a magnetic
but
field.
they're not going straight. They're not going straight. They're going around. They go around in a circle.
Yeah, so like this right here, like this shot from the equator, the stars the ones that are going straight there, or that are close to straight, would be completely straight. And then if you took just the stars like just to the north of the equator, just a tiny bit, the amount of arc that path is making is much less than when you go up to the upper right hand corner of that page, for example. The arc is more and more pronounced until it gets so much that you're all the way like right near Polaris, for example. So it goes from being very circular, and then it, just like in this picture, it expands out and all the radiuses of all of those concentric circles of stars become wider and wider until they become straight at the equator, and then they go from wide all the way down to narrow again in the south.
And that makes no sense over a dual pole. They should only be touching on one point over a dual pole. Don't you agree with that?
No, not at all.
Then
They look.
How do you have
like
two
this. You have
circles
two
side by
arguments.
side where they touch on more than one point? You haven't explained that. Because you've got two circles side by side, but somehow all the way along that side bit they touch each other, which seems to kind of make a globe, don't you think?
No, so
Otherwise, two circles side by side would only touch on one point.
Okay, I was trying to wait till you be finished. I think I started 3 times and you clipped me. So if you're finished now, no, it's not any complex at all. So like for this field circuit I just posted right here, you can replicate this with a fair cell. You get that exact effect that can be replicated with magnetics. So
No,
the
you
circles
don't get
that are
that.
right around the circles that are right around the poles are very tight circles. As the circles get wider and wider, they expand out and go all the way. Like that's the one on the left there, that straight line of the equator. If you were to go one line to the left, that arc is much, much greater than the radius of the circle that would be right around one of those poles. So they don't touch at one place. The radius of that arc is much, much greater than the radius of the circle that would be right around one of those poles. So they don't touch at one place. They blend just like an electric field does at the equator.
So do you not see that now on the celestial equator, you have things Pac-Manning from one side to the other? Because you won't have them touching on one point. You want them to touch all the way around, which means that those ones on the celestial equator, they're Pac-Manning. Just go off the top of the page and magically appear on the bottom again.
That's something.
That's exactly what I want to ask Geo too. It's Geo. The stars that are going in a straight line on the equator.
Hold on one second.
Where do they go? Where do they go?
All right, she just hold on. Are you saying
It's
something
the
on
same
this?
question.
Okay, your theory is Pac-Man trouble about? That's what you're telling us? This is your theory of what you think is happening?
Well, I want you to tell me where that straight line starts, because that's where all the planets go. So where are they? Are they Pac-Manning? Just disappearing off the top of the page and reappearing on the bottom?
So wait, you're claiming that, or you're asking if I think something's Pac-Man?
I'm asking you, where are they going?
Okay, I haven't seen any indication of anything Pac-Manning, so I wouldn't go off that unless that was observed or actually empirically observed.
So
but it would be
you
a
agree
circuit.
the picture that you gave me is not correct then? It's not showing what the stars are doing at all.
No, it would be a circuit. Apparently there's no
How
stars
can it be a
right
circuit?
on the
You've got a straight line. You can't have
Apparently
a
there's
circuit with a straight line.
Apparently there's no stars on the equator, not right on
There
the
is.
equator. They're always a
There
little bit
is.
north or south.
Orion's belt is on the celestial equator. One star's on the equator and the other two are in the southern hemisphere, not the north.
But it would just be a
And so that,
circuit. Like, for example, right here, in this here, it shows the 2 rotations over flat water, and there's no Pac-Manning involved. It's a circuit. There's a
Where's the
little
straight line?
little flecks of I think there's like pepper or whatever, or they're little like metallic flecks.
well, they're not doing perfect circles, are they? They're odd shaped if they're not Pac-Manning across the center,
Actually,
which
no,
doesn't
I
match what we
think
see either.
those are actually like pepper. It's the water that's moving in the motion like that causes the flakes.
And you
to
haven't
go.
got them doing perfect circles like we see, staying the same distance apart from each other. You've got them
What
moving
was the last thing
closer,
you said?
getting
I didn't.
further away, moving
Hold
closer,
on.
getting further away. So where do you see that happening?
All right, if you're trying to engage with me, you're kind of scattergunning all over the place. You've asked like 3 questions now. Was there one you wanted to go off of, or what did you ask? You said like 3 things there. I don't know what you even said.
Well, it depends on which picture I'm looking at, because you're scattergunning by showing me 3 different pictures, and
Well, I
I'm
think
like only allowed to respond to one of them at a time.
you were just clipping and interrupting through the entire thing, which I just wanted 10 seconds to post and say what I was saying. So if you could please stop clipping, that'd be a lot easier to
You
have
were
the
clipping
conversation.
me. So you still haven't explained why there's no separation zone, and if there's no separation zone, where do the stars on the celestial equator go? Do they Pac-Man? I forget it.
Yeah, I already responded to that. I said there's nothing that I'm not claiming anything is Pac-Manning anywhere. It sounds like you're claiming that. And what I was posting, the last thing I posted shows an electric field circuit with a magnet and electricity, which shows 2 rotations over flat water, and there's no Pac-Manning involved. So I'm showing you how your theory of Pac-Manning, or your proposition that that's what's happening, is not anything I'm saying is happening unless that was to be observed. And I'm showing a demonstration of how 2 things can be rotating, even showing the idea of stars, because it's got the little pepper flakes in there, pepper flakes that are moving in 2 counter-rotating circles. There's no curvature involved in the surface of that water, even if on the globe, even, I mean, if there's a micro pico, tiny bit, but even if you believe the globe, but I mean, there's no appreciable curvature. So it's showing a small scale demonstration of how you can have 2 rotations over a flat surface.
Okay,
There's no Pac-Manning involved, as you said.
so where they join in the middle, which would be the celestial equator, we know it joins all the way around. So when you go to the outside of those rotations, where are they? Where are they on the Earth? Because we don't see any rotation where it just goes off into space, and it doesn't match the rotation on the other side. Doesn't join
Trouble.
to it.
It's special. That's the answer. And it makes sense to me, Gio, with the water and the pepper flakes and the stars just coming around us.
All right, so
In
we all know
trouble.
where the celestial equator is. We know where those 2 poles are. Where is the left and right of those pictures? Where do we see that in the sky, where they're just going off into no man's land?
I mean, I think it's a toroidal sky. It's a circuit. The whole
We don't
field.
see that. Where's your proof?
Like,
Where's your photo to prove that this happens?
Again, something you're claiming is happening and asking me to defend your argument.
You're showing the pictures. It's from your pictures. The last
You're
one you
making
posted.
some kind of
Look
claims
on the
about
left and the
stars
right hand
looking
side
up
of the
at
sky. The left hand, right hand side of the picture. Where is that in the sky?
an electric field circuit with a magnet and electricity, which shows 2 rotations over flat water, and there's no Pac-Manning involved. So I'm showing you how your theory of Pac-Manning, or your proposition that that's what's happening, is not anything I'm saying is happening unless that was to be observed. And I'm showing a demonstration of how 2 things can be rotating, even showing the idea of stars, because it's got the little pepper flakes in there, pepper flakes that are moving in 2 counter-rotating circles. There's no curvature involved in the surface of that water, even if on the globe, even, I mean, if there's a micro pico, tiny bit, but even if you believe the globe, but I mean, there's no appreciable curvature. So it's showing a small scale demonstration of how you can have 2 rotations over a flat surface. There's no Pac-Manning involved, as you said.
So where they join in the middle, which would be the celestial equator, we know it joins all the way around. So when you go to the outside of those rotations, where are they? Where are they on the Earth? Because we don't see any rotation where it just goes off into space, and it doesn't match the rotation on the other side. Doesn't join to it.
It's special. That's the answer. And it makes sense to me, Gio, with the water and the pepper flakes and the stars just coming around us.
All right, so we
And
all know where the
shovel top.
celestial equator is. We know where those two poles are. Where is the left and right of those pictures? Where do we see that in the sky, where they're just going off into no man's land?
I mean, I think it's a toroidal sky. It's a circuit. The whole
We don't
field.
see that. Where's your proof?
Because,
Where's your photo to prove that this happens?
Again, something you're claiming is happening and asking me to defend your argument.
You're showing the pictures. It's from your pictures. The last
You're
one you
making
posted.
some kind of
Look
claims
on the
about
left and the
stars
right-hand
looking
side
like
of the
this.
sky. The left-hand, right-hand side of the picture, where is that in the sky? Is it nowhere? Is that why you're not answering? Because it's nowhere. There is nowhere where that part of that matches the sky.
I'm not
Can
sure
you
what
picture
you're
a
referencing.
toroidal?
I'm not sure what you're referencing. Do you want to? I don't know if you can take a screenshot and circle or show which one you're talking about. Which image?
The blue one. Go to the left and the right-hand side of that picture. Because you've got the celestial equator in the middle. You've got the two poles. But now where is it on the outside of those two poles? Where is that where does that match our sky? And you do have them Pac-Manning from north to south. I didn't put this picture in, you did.
Yeah, so if you're asking me that, again, I'm not sure what you're referencing. You just keep saying, are you saying the one I just posted at 9 after?
Yes. Yes. So to the left of that square and to the right of that square, where does that match the sky?
Well, that's only showing a portion of the circuit. That's showing like a cross section of it over a flat. I mean, it's essentially flat because we're looking at it on a computer monitor. But that could be
Yeah,
put
and the
onto
other side of
paper.
it,
It's only a
the other side of
two-dimensional partial. It's only two-dimensional partial depiction of the whole field.
and
Just
what
like
would the whole
like
field look like? Would it
just like
then go
that.
around and
Yeah, like the reason they do that. So like in the one that I posted before of an electric, which is that same type of layout, or even like something like this, any of these that show like magnetic field lines and so on. This is just like a two-dimensional cross section of a portion of the field because the actual field is three-dimensional. Like electricity is like a 3D thing that actually goes around the wire, and it's not just it's not a flat thing that we're looking at here, like a sheet of paper. So this is just showing a cross section of the coordinates of the field. The actual field itself is a three-dimensional thing, and I don't have any reason to think the sky would not fit that as well. I mean, I haven't been able to go up there and confirm that that there's the exact like shape of the sky. And so in the same way that it looks like this to us, but it very well could be a much more three-dimensional thing than just like a star chart that you would put on a flat sheet of paper.
well, that field line ones, it doesn't have the celestial equator in there at all. And the celestial equator, we see it all the way around the Earth. There's no place where it separates and rejoins again. So I don't know how you're getting this two-pole thing working on a flat Earth, because it just doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be ideal to travel all around the Earth and observe the sky from every position. There's obviously contention about what happens in the southern oceans, for example. And that would be mostly the type of region you're talking about. Because like on the globe, they have like the prime meridian, which is like, on the front side, as it were, of the globe, because we always think of it as the front. Whereas the back side is just all blue ocean. So the globe just seems to be like an ad hoc model that took the actual two-pole planar system and then like wrapped it around into a conceptual sphere. And then the whole international date line is like this jagged line. I know they say that's because of like time zone variations, but it's this whole jagged line that's like basically stitched together because of like time zone variations. But it's this whole jagged line that's like basically stitched together through the Pacific Ocean. So I think some of those regions you're mentioning of what the field would be like would be in the Pacific, essentially, on like the blue side of the ball, which basically half of the globe Earth is just all blue ocean. So that's where the discrepancy is.
Ooh, this is what we needed.
Yeah, dude, go for it. You're showing something? I mean, we were kind of on a cool thing. She came in doing the whole like, that whole energy, and I was kind of trying to respond to her, but it was just all clipping and interrupting, and wasn't a very genuine. Your mic's feedback.
Oh, sorry about that. Let me turn that down.
Yeah, I mean, I guess she left. But I mean, the last point she was, I think what she was talking about was basically the Pacific. Didn't it sound like that's what she was talking about, the Pacific Ocean points?
Yeah, I'm about to show that. I think this is might be a helpful visual. I could
All right,
walk
let me share
through
it on
real
this
quick.
real quick. Yeah, let me share it. All right. Yeah, I'm sharing it.
All right. So what do we have here? We have a variation of the dual pole map, basically. Okay. We've got these orange dots, which we'll figure out what that is in a second. We'll see it, and then we have essentially a two pole star field projected here. Now,
What did you think of what I was saying though? That when we look at it like this, we're looking at like a two-dimensional cross section of an electric field, which is what like a ferrocell shows. That some of the ferrocells are actually three-dimensional, but a lot of the ferrocells just show 2 dimensions. So you're looking at like the 2 poles of an electric field circuit, for example, but the actual circuit itself is more of a 3-dimensional structure. So when we're looking at something like this, if we're trying just to put the stars in a way, over like a 2-dimensional cross section of the Earth versus the actual 3-dimensional nature of it, I mean, to be on a planar surface, obviously, whatever would just be above. It wouldn't really be able to be outside the way the sphere Earth says it would be. It would all just be kind of the space above. But that space above could have much more of a 3-dimensional nature to it, which is what I was saying before. Like if it's a toroidal sky, if it's a toroidal type sky structure like that, then doesn't a 2-dimensional cross section of it like offer quite a few limitations when it comes to that?
yep. Let me show you something interesting on this, though. You see the edges, how they appear, not only with the stars, but like the map and like the dots. Let me know when you see it, because I'm gonna move it, and that's gonna be the important part.
You're gonna move the structure. You're saying
Watch
right
that.
now?
I'm gonna move every. Let's say we've got a two-pole star plane, right? And we're just exploring these ideas. So we're not making claims. We're just trying to explore. We have like a two-pole star field. And then right now we're trying to deal with like Pac-Man. Is there a Pac-Man? Is there a not Pac-Man? What's going on with the stars here? So look, well, we're going to go this way.
Well, I think she was the one who had said Pac-Man. I would never have suggested anything like that, unless that was like to be observed, like an effect of something like that happening. But
Yeah.
it seems like it would just be it's a circuit, like it's an entire circuit that is a completion of the whole pattern of it above a planar surface.
So I'm gonna try to like imagine what is an observer at the edge. What star field are they seeing, right? Well, this is just my claim, my opinion. Okay, so I'm just showing this to. So an observer here somewhere. So that observer, their star field, all of a sudden. So let's just say that observer. What was the edge?
So
again?
this would basically be like deep in the Pacific Ocean, which on the globe Earth model they say is basically like the blue side of the ball, because like half
Yeah.
the globe Earth is like all the Pacific Ocean. So basically in those regions, you're saying?
Yeah, yeah. Basically, like in these regions. So I have the dual pole map here, what we see, and then I'm gonna go to this region, which was like the edge of the map, around here somewhere. Okay. Let's just say this dot here. This observer, their night sky view, they're seeing all of these stars here. So I know it's hard to like these dots. So just pick any dot. They're here. This region is the outer edges of the dual pole map. This localized region here is, and I'm not making any claims saying anything is wrong. Okay, I'm just sharing observations. This region of whatever this is the outer edges of the dual pole map. Because look, we got the dual pole map.
What you're saying, you're trying to say that as you move it through time, that little orange circle of what would take space on that. Well, now the map is a little bit distorted. Or no, you moved it to the Pacific Ocean part, I guess.
Here's one thing to wonder. So if this observer here is seeing this general amount of stars, what this means is when we go back to the dual pole, okay, and we get that hypothetical observer at the edge somewhere, because that was our intention, right? They're not just seeing these stars; they're seeing these stars as well. And that's just something to ponder. I mean, you know, that could be wrong, but that is basically the point of all of this right here. Is what is and I just did it just through a simple diagram transform, no 3D model needed or anything. What is an observer at an outer edge? What are they gonna see?
Yeah, well, that would be the question.
Yeah,
right. No, I hear you, but that goes to the whole question of, for the Earth to be planar, that would imply that there is either a limit or a barrier, or, I mean, an edge has never really made sense to me, because what would it be the edge of? Like, I mean, unless somebody thinks it's a flat plane floating in space, but if it's not necessarily floating in space, if it's just a plane, there wouldn't really be anything to fall off to. There wouldn't be an edge, because there wouldn't be any like outer space out there. It would just be the edge of the realm. It would just be the ground. Like, you know, it's like the edge of a lake is just the shore. And then if you go beyond the shore, yeah, what happens? Does it get cold? Is there a barrier? But I wouldn't think of anything like, you always have to have a foundation to the ground, like unless you're going to say it's like floating in a vacuum or something like that, or just like intertwine like a heliocentric globe with a planar Earth thing that sometimes people do in like memes or whatever. But anyways, what you're getting to is getting to the idea of what is, like, to have the Earth be planar, like what is at the nether regions, you know, like as you just keep going on a plane, you know, is there a barrier? Is there some kind of limit? Is it just so cold that you can't get there? So, but yeah, you're right. On this type of layout, or even on an A.E. Gleason's map type thing, you still have the stars and what it would do if you just kept going outward. Even on that one, from a dual pole, it would be from going outside of the range of either of the two poles on a planar surface. Because obviously on a globe, it all wraps around. And that's the one thing a plane doesn't do. The sky could do a wraparound, who knows? But I'm saying the ground would not wrap around, unless someone's going to put some theory like that the actual ground is doing that or something. But we're not really talking about like a supernatural type thing. Like, to me, that would be supernatural if the ground actually changed, you know, looped or something like that. That would be otherworldly, you know, in terms of our physics. So yeah, I hear you. I mean, this is the question of what happens if you just go outward and keep going.
Well, according to the globe, which we're just being unbiased here, but this is according to the globe. So this general region is the outer edges of the globe of the dual pole map. Hold on, I can zoom in. So
is this like centered on the Pacific Ocean right now?
Right now, it's centered on wherever the center of this screen is. So I would try to center this dot. It would be
Hawaii.
centered on that dot right now. So
See, one of the
it's centered
issues
on
may
that.
be that this coordinate system that you pulled to make this graphic already comes from something preconceived, and then I would put that forth like that. This
Yep.
this
Let
actual
me.
grid. I mean, I know we have the what could be called the celestial sphere, the northern stars, southern stars, and I realize you can conceptually put those together into an actual sphere, like in a computer program. So I'm not saying that there's not the two rotations, but I'm saying these coordinates of how the land are laid out and so on are ones that are, when I say preconceived, meaning they were made by somebody that wasn't, like you didn't directly make that grid system, but slow to begin
As,
with. And trying to put it onto a plane will never quite fit, but I just wanted to mention that.
thank you. As far as the Glober model goes, this is one side of the globe. If one pulls up a flight tracker, there's tons of planes claiming. I mean, we got to be open minded, right? There's tons of there's like 10 times more planes flying. There's like, I don't want to make up the number. It's a lot more planes going from here to here all the way across than say going around Antarctica, for example. Tons. This is major traffic around here. So as far as the Globers claim, when they reach this point at the outer edge of the dual pole map, all this outer edge here, you see how the outer edge is all red right now? You see how it's all red? That is a single dot. You just saw that, right? Look, that dot right there. If I go to the dual pole map, in one variation or another, it's taking one dot and wrapping it around the world. Okay? So whichever one of these dots it was. So in the global world, the claim is as there's hella planes and boats flying over, is actually near the equator region. So it's like they're actually there's a lot going here. Thousands of times every day, boats, planes, shipping cargo, all kinds of things. And there is no mystery as far as in the global world of what's going on here. There is like no outer lands. I mean, it could be a lie, but it's this local region here. But this is just the, without saying anything's good or bad, this is how I believe how it works. So in my case, back not too long ago, when I had to tackle this myself, I had to deal with what's going on. Is there a Pac-Man? Is there not a Pac-Man? I ended up with, if Earth had to be level stationary, it would be this setup with a Pac-Man at the end of the world, and there's really that's the best I could do. And why Pac-Man? Because I understood, I mean, I could still be wrong, but I decided that I do believe that planes in the thousands going through here every single day, I don't think that this is like edge of the world or like some, if you go beyond this point, you're like in uncharted territory. I just don't think that's happening. It's more likely, in my opinion, for something fishy to be going on, and not that I think that there is, but something fishy to be going on in Antarctica and lie about it, because there's less planes and ships and boats that goes, really, really close to here, as compared to like over here. So this view, I could also do the Gleason map as well. This is the Gleason map as well. If you notice, the Gleason map also has a red ring around it. What does this red ring change into? Look carefully. I'm going to go slow. What's happening to this red? Okay, it's converging at the bottom. What's happening to this red ring? What's happening to this red ring? Oh shit, it's a dot in the middle of Antarctica. The Gleason map takes the Glober's Antarctica and splits it and puts it at the outer edges of the world. There is no equivalence in this. Nothing's the same. Distances are far, nothing, there is no equivalence. Likewise, this is what the Gleason's doing. It's taking the Glober's Antarctica, that dot right there, and stretching it around the whole world. Now Antarctica is the edge of your world. Antarctica is the edge of your world. What the dual pole map is doing is it's there is a new region that is like dot around the world. You see how it's a red? Well, where is this red coming from? Let's go slowly. Let's go this way. Where is that red coming from? Where is that red coming from? Where is that red coming from? Oh shit! It's a spot in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So if one were to attack this with purpose, these are your points of pen testing essentially, distance wise. If you're trying to figure out if what's going on, globe, flat, dual pole, Gleason, something else, this is the biggest point of contention. This area here, in relation to all distances, any distances, anything measurable going from here to this part, and Antarctica. So that's it. I've been talking a lot. I'm gonna go mute.
Good job on your little presentation there.
Thanks.
You're not going to have much feedback though, because flat earthers absolutely hate talking about maps. The fact that they don't have a map is like water off a duck's back. It doesn't bother them in the slightest that their whole idea of the earth could be bullshit. It doesn't bother them in the slightest that they don't have a map. And Gio is like, you talk about not having a map every single day. It's because it's like, it's weird that flat earthers have these like ridiculously high levels of evidence to try to prove that space is real, that we went to the moon or that. But then it comes down to like, oh, you guys don't even have a map. Oh, no big deal. We don't need a map. I think it's very telling. Because obviously, as soon as they drop any map whatsoever, you'll be able to immediately point out the impossibilities of it and why it's obviously bullshit. And so they don't even try anymore. There's just no effort in that. They don't want to talk about it. Just there's no point. And there's never going to be a map. There's not going to be some magical flat earth map that's going to be produced or uncovered. And then, oh, look, this explains everything.
You don't think so?
No. I'd be willing to bet
Okay,
any
let's
amount of
say
money
it's
we could. Yeah.
a great point, because I was going to say it's not going to be in the hands of an amateur. Let's say if it is flat and the government's covering it up, we would have to get to the superpower, which would be the United States.
Dude, you
They
could
would.
buy a sailboat for 20 grand and just start sailing from continent to continent and at least figuring out whether the distances that are claimed for these continents separation is even remotely legitimate and whether you can actually hop from continent to continent. You know, it'll take like a year of sailing, but it's really more of a time issue than a money issue.
Actually, that's a great idea. Like, yeah, imagine if you were on a sailboat and you were drawing a line on your travels. Yeah, you could potentially get the outline at least. And then we could confirm, look, this matches the outline of the globe.
Well, you would definitely know that whether the orientation of the continents as far as like and their distances to one another match.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you would also know whether you can actually traverse the world and you can do it both from the west and from the east. And that's like, yeah, I mean, how come it hasn't ever been done before from a flat earther? Who knows? Flat earthers usually aren't very interested in. I mean, think about how long the flat earth took it as a given that there's no 24-hour sun in Antarctica, right? What did it take? It took a motivated glober to fly flat earthers out to prove it to them. And literally, I mean, I've been in the community since 2016. There not being a 24-hour sun was gospel in the flat Earth community. Until the final experiment, I never once heard any flat earther ever even say that it's a possibility that there's a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. That goes
However,
around you in a
yes.
circle.
However, leading up to those days, I think it was like December 17th or 18th, leading up to the very touchdown, people were still asking the question, would this change your mind? And flat earthers, some said yes, some said no. It's same with the globe. I did ask some globers, would this change your mind if there was no 24-hour sun? And I've heard some say no, it wouldn't change their mind at all. But yeah, I know what you're saying though, for sure.
That is a strange reaction though, because obviously the globe is bullshit if there's no 24-hour sun. I mean, like truly no 24-hour sun, not that like, oh, it was light out, but it was cloudy the whole time and we never saw the sun. That's obviously a non-result, right?
Yeah, seems like the real sun for sure. The video evidence of it seems real. They got the sunspots on there. Jaren said he felt it on his face. I asked him, like, how did it appear local or far away? And he said, in his own words, it seemed local, but it was hard to tell because I wanted to know, like, if there was a sunspot, how far away would that sunspot be from him? And he didn't know. But we could have figured it out on the map. The subsolar point tracker, or whatever it is, whatever, if they have one. I'm sure they do. But yeah, it seems like it's the real sun, for sure.
This is an optical illusion. What I'm sharing here. If I rotate the globe, I want you guys to guess. To tell me what direction you see it rotating.
Okay.
But it does kind of look like it's going west to east.
I'm gonna do it again.
It looks west to east to me.
Yeah. It's interesting though.
I'm gonna do it one more time, then I'm gonna switch the view, and then you're gonna tell me what it is. There's gonna be no change, by the way. Let's do it again. Everyone agree?
Yeah, it's either the Earth turning west to east or the eye moving from the east to west.
All right, now watch this. We're gonna. Now I'm gonna do it again. Tell me what direction it's rotating. Same direction. What do you see now?
Interesting.
I don't know. A continent smoothie is what I see now.
Yeah, this could explain the opposite rotation of the stars at the equator. They diverge and separate at the equator, and then go back to finish their loop. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a cool animation. The thing is, when we look at the constellations in real life, we never see them warping or changing shape. They're always like rock solid, the same shape.
Yeah. Oh,
well, same for the continents.
You haven't. Okay, so watch this, Matthew. It hasn't snapped in your mind's vision yet. So some others have probably caught on. You're probably seeing this as just like a literal, like a flat map. Okay, but try this out. Here, let me change. Okay, now we could keep it out. Try this out. What you're actually looking at is a projection of the backside of the inside of a sphere. Try to see if your mind can warp into that. So I'm like rotating the inside of the sphere, and you're seeing the back inside.
Okay, yeah, I see it.
You see that, right? Now everything, just because I said that and it clicked in your mind, this map makes sense now. Now all of a sudden, it's not, oh, Africa is ridiculously large. It's from now the thing that's locked in your mind. You could see that's just how Antarctica, or excuse me, Africa looks when you're inside of the sphere.
Right.
Watch this. You see, so look, the observer is going to be somewhere around the equator. let's just go antipode to America, somewhere around the equator, right? So you see,
In the
we're
United States,
around the
right.
equator. We're looking inside the sphere. Antarctica's there. Watch what happens. We're gonna start going to.
Azimuthal anywhere. Yes. Thank you very much.
Watch this.
The
We're
Earth,
gonna
Earth's a
start.
globe. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. We're in this sphere. We're literally gonna go towards Antarctica. Watch this. Watch this. Look, we're going towards
Well,
Antarctica. We're
can I just say one thing?
real quick. We're
right.
approaching Antarctica. We're gonna go and land in the middle of that dot. We're approaching Antarctica. We're approaching Antarctica. In the middle of that dot, boom! Now you've got your Gleason. You got your regular AE map. In this so in this one, the observers standing in the middle of Antarctica right there, inside the sphere, and they're looking up, giving you
That's
that.
right. Yes, the Gleason map was generated from Azimuthal everywhere. Thank you very much. That's a good one, brother. There it is, a globe. Thank you.
Thank you. Now all of a
Thank you, Rob.
sudden, Gio, I know you wanted to talk. You wanna go right now, or
Yeah, just real quick. I just wanted to say that the thing is that the contention, or a lot of what's being discussed, is the geometry. So for the Earth to be planar, and then the sky to have some type of a spherical dynamic to it above a planar surface. Obviously, like a hemisphere has that to it. I'm not saying it is exactly a hemisphere, but however the spherical nature of the sky works, and then a planar ground, which you can have, and then which is what people thought, obviously, before the globe Earth, came along, and they were mapping the stars and so on and so forth, with that in mind and with those models and conceptions. And then when the globe idea takes the stars and then puts them, on like a massive like celestial sphere that's, they say an infinitely, an essentially infinite radius, because they're so far out there, the stars, and then it makes the Earth a globe. So now you're taking the stars, making them an actual like conceptual sphere, and then putting a sphere Earth, I would say conceptual sphere Earth, in the middle of that. And that's how that's occurring. And then here you're taking what some of the geometries here almost have like a concave, because even though it's on a flat TV screen, as you're warping it around, it's, you can warp it on the outside of a ball or on the inside of a ball, because it's the way the stars were mapped in that fashion. But the reason the whole ground is warping with this is because it's using the concept of the stars being assumed to be an actual sphere that goes all the way around, and then trying to put that onto the ground, and and then warping that around. So I'm just saying that like the contention is not really, the contention is more about what is this, it would be like the actual structure of the ground in comparison to the sky, whereas this is combining the celestial sphere with the globe Earth model into these coordinates with the stars. You see what I'm saying? The sky and ground in this are already preconceived to have the spherical nature, because they make the stars a sphere that's surrounding a sphere Earth, rather than a planar with the spherical nature above.
Yes, but here.
They set. I mean, they're going to set every night.
They set. Very good, very good. They set into what? Into a bucket and then come back up?
No, into the visual meeting place of the ground and the sky, of course, where they set. But Gatebreaker, did you hear what do you think about what I was saying? I mean, it's not to downplay what you're doing, but you see what I'm saying? How this is already using those coordinates of like a globe Earth with a celestial sphere that is a larger sphere surrounding the sphere Earth. That's all I was saying. I mean, it just goes into what this is. So like you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know that it'll ever be able to be resolved if those spherical assumptions are already incorporated to put it onto something that we would consider flat, like a flat, computer monitor. But obviously, like, the idea that, those depicted as continents that are laid out on a planar surface.
I hear what you're saying. What you're saying is it's true. It's things to consider, research, and investigate. And you are right. But this is just one thing. All the things we see for FE, anything to do with like celestial navigation, for example. Well, I actually, before I'm going to explain one more thing. I don't know if anyone wants to say anything else. Or did that answer you, Gio?
Well, no, I just wanted to mention. It's all good. I wanted to mention it just because this already has that kind of preconceived into it, and so trying to get the right fit may not ultimately work, because the difference, like if we had all the time and energy to go out and to measure the ground, the sky, all of that, there would have to be a discrepancy, like we've talked about with at least some of the distances. I'm not talking just from your house to your local store, but in terms of the grand scale of the Earth, there would have to be on a globe versus a planar surface. And we've talked about all those. And so that difference between those, the angles to stars and the distances and so on, for the Earth to be planar versus globe would be where the difference is. And this one is taking the globe side and then making the stars with those coordinates. And so that's why it looks so warped and funky. And what I'm saying is that I'm not saying that I have right now for you the absolute correct map and stars, but if that were to be done and to be shown, what I'm saying is it wouldn't use these coordinates. It would be slightly different coordinates that would actually fit on the planar surface more correctly than this one, which has the distortions.
No, they wouldn't. The stars.
Well, hold on.
would
That was
disappear.
hold on, Robert. Before that was to Gatebreaker. Gatebreaker. I'm going to be listening, but I have to kind of step away from my mic a little bit. So, did you want to respond to that? And I'm just going to listen from here forward.
I
Yeah.
hear you. I hear you. It'll be difficult because a lot of the tools and data we use to figure things out includes how it's on the global model. But I'll just finish it off with this. As I understand the difficulty of what you said, if you were to, I know this looks like a inside of a sphere, but let's just pretend it was like a normal globe, and these are like nails put in all over the globe, right? And these are lines, you connect strings to them. This in the global model, everywhere, all around the world, there is no, oh well, okay, over here it's kind of fucked up, but and all around the world, everything is spick and span, tight, locked up, and accounted for. Distances to everything, for everything. The whole model is wrapped around this sphere. So if, like, let's say this region is a lie, or it's the edge of the world, or something, because if it's a globe and it's flat, the difference is going to be drastic. It's something somewhere is going to be off badly, and you're not going to miss it.
Exactly.
So that needs to be done to destroy the globe. Has to be proven wrong, but not just the regular arguments we do is making the globers dance and explain away everything. It's you literally. No, not saying you. One has to, if it's wrong, figure out where it's wrong, and you would have to like know the alternative. It's just that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Exactly. No. The thing is, Geo said what we already know. He
Gio, I just shared some info. It wasn't even really directed at him, but that's it. So,
Yeah. So, like I said, I was going to be away from my mic for a bit, but dude, Robert is an entertainer. That was funny. All the stuff he was saying, he was really on one. But no, like what we were talking about though, with that type of layout. Would you agree that in order to know the entire field of stars and how that maps to the ground, we would have to independently confirm that? And that modeling, like only going off of the coordinates that are given to us now, that are like, I was using the word preconceived, like those have already been kind of given to us. If there's a deception in there, it's going to be more difficult to decode the deception just from seeing the end product of it. And that to confirm which one is which, we would have to actually test that directly, like tangibly and in the real world, essentially, which would be quite a project. Would you agree with that?
I don't know right now, but just keep going.
Yeah. You can do it more or less independently of the coordinate system, Geo. That you don't have to worry about that long. All you need is the ability to measure like a straight line distance, and you can show geometrically that those, if you have half a dozen points separated by a long distance and you measure the distance between all the points, you can show geometrically that those points do or do not lie on a plane just based on the distances.
Yeah, and so you'd have to confirm the distances tangibly in the physical world, which depends on what length you're talking about. But if they're very far distances, that's going to be quite a project to do it tangibly, like not just to use any assumptions or GPS or anything like that. I mean, it's hard to get access to lands. There's a lot of government land. There's a lot of private land. So it's even hard to get access, like to be able to go over land. Over the oceans has its own challenges. Being able to accurately measure over the ocean, but over land, and then you have all your elevation changes as well. But and we know there's the GPS system that claims those distances, and we can all drive our cars, and we know that's within a range of accuracy.
Yeah, just even using your car odometer. I imagine if you did certainly in Australia, if you drove down the centre and across to the west coast, you've got two legs that are 2,500 or 3,000 kilometres long, of roads that are almost straight with very low shifts in elevation. You're not climbing over mountain ranges or anything like that. So you can get some validation of the known measured distances. That's for sure.
Could you say that again? Sorry, I'm kind of distracted, and I had a bee on my mouse pad. I literally just had a bee on my mouse pad, so I didn't get stung, but I just can't quite respond. But if you want to repeat what you said, I might be able to respond in a few minutes. But if someone else wants to jump in, so I'm kind of back. I just got to do something for a minute. Do you want to repeat what you said, though? I can be listening.
Yeah. So I guess in summary is that certainly in Australia we have a couple of roads that run north, south, and east, west for several thousand kilometres and barely have any elevation changes. They're good guidelines for validating the measured distances as published. Match reality. You certainly be able to verify those distances with your own car. You probably want to have a calibrated odometer, but you can certainly do that. and Australia is a good case, right? That it's not in the northern hemisphere, so any map is likely to distort it.
All right, so you're saying north to south, like longitude lines?
Yeah. So in Australia, you can drive straight down the middle. Sturt Highway goes from Darwin to Adelaide. It's 2,500 or 3,000 kilometres long. Almost zero deviation. It's perfectly north-south, just about. And similarly, there's one from Adelaide to Perth, which is east-west, and that is also extremely straight. It's got a couple of 100-mile roads that are actually perfectly straight.
No, I got you. By the way, I had a bee on my mouse pad, and it looked like it was kind of like it didn't have a lot of life in it. So I grabbed a tissue and I tried to grab it, and then I thought I squished it or whatever, or that I got it, and I kind of put it in the trash, and then I saw it start flying around in the trash can. I'm like, oh no, he's gonna be mad. So anyways, I had to quickly tie up the trash bag. So I think it was actually a wasp. I don't know that it was a bee. I think it might have been a wasp. Sometimes they must find their way in. But anyways, that was kind of funny. But at least it didn't sting me because I don't need a wasp sting right now. No, I hear what you're saying. So possibly that could be done to validate some small sections of north-south lines. Yeah. But like you're saying 3,000 kilometers, so that's like less than 2,000 miles and so on. I mean, but you're saying that would be enough, or are you just saying that you could confirm those sections?
Yeah, you can confirm those sections, and so you're at least getting a bit of a baseline about the validity of any other distances that might be in that same vicinity. I guess that is to say, are the distances legit? Can you trust them? So you don't have to measure every distance to know that you can potentially trust the other ones nearby.
I got you, but there's variations that could be occurring like out in the oceans and the places that would really matter in terms of the larger plotting of the land. Because if you have like local land and they're in like grid squares, and if you're using plane surveying, now they do use geodetic surveying to like link together property lines over larger scales, but you're still using like the planar grids and so on, and then how those distances map out in places that we drive around like in our local daily lives versus out in the oceans and on the more grand scale of how the whole earth is laid out, and just, being able to decipher any discrepancies in terms of the whole system would really be what would be needed. Like, I don't necessarily think doing it in that small of a section would be enough, but we have talked about like what the minimum distance is that you would need to make like a square, like 4 points, and then connect either of the 2 points with a line through the middle, and how the planar geometry versus the spherical. So we've talked about like, could you even do it like in the entire United States, like from the southern tip of Florida up to Maine, et cetera, to be able to get a large enough area that it could be deciphered between the two. And forth. Right now I'm kind of jumping back and forth, but all right. So yeah, you're agreeing you'd have to have a large enough area. Well, that's what I'm saying. So like confirming the distances we're given would only be one thing. Like if we confirmed in like the southern tip of Australia to the northern tip, and we were able to say, okay, boom, that was this many kilometers, and it matches what we're given, that's fine. But we would then that would have to be compared. I mean, now if you did 4 points though, and you confirm them, if you were able to do 4 points and you confirmed them that it's what we're given, and you confirm them in the physical world, and it either matches planar or spherical geometry. Sorry, video started playing. But if you were able to confirm like what were the numbers were given and those 4 points, and then to be able to decipher between the planar or the spherical geometry, that would potentially be compelling because those are the numbers we're given. But if we're only given like certain sections and we're not actually confirming how they all relate into to each other, it would be difficult to isolate which ones are correct and which ones are not correct. Just from that alone, to then understand how it might fit on the larger scale. You know what I'm saying? Like you need some way to, like with the 4 points, you'd be able to actually establish it. But just with one section or another section, I don't think that's enough to do that, to fully establish it. Because we could be given some that are correct information and some that are not. So I just don't see any other way than doing it independently. And yeah, what would the smallest region you would need to do this in to confirm the geometry, within a margin of error? We've talked about that. I don't know if there's any like dead set number, but we've talked about, like the size of the United States, a couple thousand miles, at each side of the square. I don't know if there's any like dead set number, but we've talked about, like the size of the United States, a couple thousand miles, at each side of the square. Not psychedelic that I'm aware of. They do use bees for healing, like bee sting therapy, where they actually like purposefully sting you with bees to have a certain. It like helps with like Lyme disease.
Anti-inflammatory.
Yeah, people say it helps with Lyme disease and other things like that. There's that, but I don't know that there's a psychedelic. You can kind of have a bit of a weird mental state sometimes if you get stung, but not like I'm not aware of psychedelic. People have also talked about the way that the bees' wings like vibrate, that they have a healing effect as well.
Like a cat fur.
Does that get into that orgone energy thing, like setting like bees' nests or something like that? Like healing acoustic properties of the buzzing.
Yeah, dude, it's supposed to be able to heal things. Almost works like Reiki, the way Reiki works, but this is like with using bee frequency, the frequency of the bee. I've even heard of someone who made a bed, and the bed like was on top of like they would the bees would be flying like underneath the bed while you're sleeping. Even though bees they won't fly
under the bed, you mean?
Under the bed, yeah. Bacon, real quick on the last, we were talking all about, I see Bacon's in here, but like we can shift topics if you guys want and all that, of course, but Bacon, like just on what I was just talking about with Daza, do you know what the minimum distances of 4 points would have to be to decipher between planar and globe?
It depends on your tolerance. The bigger the tolerance, the bigger the distance. The smaller the tolerance, the smaller the distance. It's not directly, but it's proportional to the tolerance.
Yeah, and we've done a couple calculations over the years. Like we've looked at, we've done a few, but I'm just saying, is there one that you think would be sufficient?
I think entirely depends on how you're measuring it. So if you can say, for example, I can measure with 1% accuracy as far as you want, then that's one answer. If you say it's a tenth of a percent, that's another answer. So it really depends on how accurately you can be sure of the distances. The more accurate you can be, the smaller the distance we need. I don't think there's a single answer without knowing how we're measuring the distances. It's still dependent on that. That makes sense?
Is there anywhere on Earth that it could be done with a car just driving on roads that are flat enough on Earth with 4 points that we could do by just driving without having to do any fancy like LiDAR or drones or equipment or anything like that, just driving? Is there anywhere on Earth that we could do that?
I don't think so.
There's an audience to win over. Is there an audience to win over in this situation?
I wanted to go
All
through.
5 of
I
them?
wanted to go through the 3 main foundational
Right,
pillars
yeah.
of science. I wanted to go through empiricism,
I don't.
materialism, and naturalism.
All right, so
And,
let's go with
and I
naturalism.
wanted to explain to you why these are philosophical, inherently philosophical, and why science uses these things, these beliefs.
Well, what's naturalism?
Well, no, let's get through empiricism. We haven't even got through that yet. So what is
No,
empiricism? What is
we just did.
empiricism?
I did. We talked about it a second
What
ago,
is it?
about
So
2 or
what
3
is it?
minutes ago.
What is it?
I'm not going to repeat myself. You asked me before and I answered you.
Just give me from your own
No.
definition. It is. Give me from your own head.
I did that.
Doesn't even have to be a textbook definition.
You tell me what you think it is.
Empiricism is the philosophy that knowledge can only be acquired through sensory perception, through your senses.
Right.
And
If you talk,
there's more
to
it than that, but that's basically it.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then in science, then that's perfectly reasonable. Okay. So empiricism. What's the next one?
Yeah, but when
can somebody look it up though, so we can get like an actual definition?
Yeah, one of someone who's not lazy, because you're in a truck, so you have an excuse, but I don't. So I'm just lazy.
No, I can. But what is the? But the contention is
I don't know what the contention is. Science is dealing with the physical world as we see it. That's what science is. It just deals with the physical world. It doesn't deal with the spiritual or anything like that or philosophical. It just deals with the physical world.
Absolutely.
Right? So
and that's a philosophical premise. That's a philosophical premise, and that you're actually in that statement you're including both empiricism and naturalism.
Okay.
All right. So
go ahead, Gio.
Go ahead if you want. Well,
no, you read it. Go ahead.
I was just saying empirical. One of the definitions is as an observational, based on observation or experience.
Right. That's it.
And then another one.
Water. You put your face in water.
No,
you
not
can't breathe.
empirical, but empiricism.
Yeah, I get you.
With
I get
the
it. Yeah, I understand.
Well,
I understand these things.
This is for empirical. Another definition is as unverifiable, capable of being proven as true or real.
Right.
But
there you go.
the
That's
thing
empiricism.
I was say though is, I mean, if you do something empirical yourself, that's one thing. But if you're trusting someone else's claims of their empirical observation, isn't that where the faith comes in? Where you're trusting their claims of it because you didn't.
That's a good question.
You didn't experience it.
No, I don't know if I would call that faith, though. That's the thing, and I know that, for some reason that's you can't say that. But no, I don't think that's what I would call faith. That's my opinion. I might be wrong.
Add the ism to the end because the ism is like a belief system, right?
It isn't really.
That basically all scientists hold to.
All right, here's the word empiricism. Okay. I'll read them real quick. A former school of medical practice founded on experience without the aid of science or theory. That's like quackery or charlatanery.
Oh, empiricism.
Charlatanery. That's a hard word to say. The next one is the practice of relying on observations and experiment, especially in the natural sciences. And the third one is a theory that all knowledge originates from experience. That's for empiricism.
Yeah. And if you talk about science, those are all perfectly valid, reasonable things because we're talking about the natural world, whatever it is. And we're trying to find out what the natural world is. And so we use methodologies that help us find out. And people develop them over time. And so then they call that science or the scientific method. It's just a way of doing things that they've decided over time. I wouldn't call that a philosophy as such.
It is a philosophy.
Gio reads
What's up,
that
you guys?
again.
There you go.
Yeah, dude, it's a philosophy.
Okay.
Sorry, Rob, are you trying to get in, bro? You're coming in low.
I'm trying to get in. Maybe I'm real low. Am I real low?
No,
Shout
it's
louder.
me. I had you lowered. That's my bad.
Yeah, because I yell sometimes. You might have had me low. Some people
All right.
turn me down because sometimes I have a shitty mic. But anyways,
sound good actually.
If Gio rereads that, it basically said that empiricism was better than science. You want to read that again, Gio?
Which one? The practice of relying on observation and experiment, especially in the natural sciences.
No,
The other
the
one, yeah.
definition of empiricism that you wrote or read.
Well, the first one was a former school of medical practice founded on experience without the aid of science or theory. Is that the one you're thinking of?
Yeah, yeah. So wouldn't that define it as better than science?
Founded on
It just seems-
experience. A former school of medical practice founded on experience without the aid of science or theory.
So just like natural truths, like just like logic, maybe.
Yeah,
So
I mean, logic.
The scientific method was derived from
Beast,
logic.
what do you get, dude?
I got you. All
Yeah,
right. Well,
Beast,
you can
go
go by
ahead.
Merriam-Webster, right? There's two options you can click on, right? You can just see all three different definitions of you want empiricism, right? Line?
Yeah, with the
Not
ism at the end.
empirical. You want the ism. Okay. A theory that all knowledge originates in experience. Then it says, and that's number 3. Number 2 is the practice of relying on observation and experiment, especially in the natural sciences.
Yeah, same one. Just yeah.
Yep.
So now we gotta,
But it's
You
a
got two
theory
definitions.
of
Merriam-Webster.
yeah, a theory that all knowledge originates in experience. That's really what it means, though.
That's basically what I said too.
Yeah.
In my own words, I forgot what I said, but I said that knowledge is acquired through sensory perception.
Yep. And then
If you're talking, if we're talking about this in science, then yes, that's
you know
that's
what's
all it could
related
be.
to it, Red Cloud? Animism.
Mm. What's animism? I've heard that.
A doctrine that the vital principle of organic development is immaterial spirit. Then it says attribution of conscious life to objects in and phenomena of nature or to inanimate objects. Belief in the existence of spirits separable from bodies.
Okay, that's another definition of that, or what do you
It's a
where are you getting
synonym.
that? Oh, it's a so but it's not the same. It is a synonym, but it's not exactly the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't put it in the same breath, would you?
No, but I wasn't really here for the entire conversation.
So here I just
Oh,
got
yeah,
to my
you
first
missed it.
delivery.
It's
So
good.
I looked it up on Google in Wiki. The first two, Wiki says in philosophy, naturalism is the idea that only natural laws and forces, as opposed to natural ones, operate in the universe. That's the second one. Naturalism is the philosophical belief that only natural laws and forces, not supernatural or spiritual ones, operate in the universe. Now, most scientists hold this notion, right? When they do science, they don't automatically assume that it's supernatural forces. They assume natural forces.
Yeah.
Correct? Right? So yeah, that's the philosophy of science. Naturalism, it's one of the pillars. And then let me see empiricism. Empiricism
Yeah, it's pretty
says
closely related to materialism. As pretty closely related to the
can I
materialism.
can you
put
read
it like
hold on,
this?
can you read materialism next? But hold on, before let me just read empiricism. Empiricism,
okay.
This is AI, this is Google right off the bat, AI overview. Empiricism is a philosophical theory that all knowledge is derived from sensory experience, observation, and experimentation. In the wiki, which is the next one, empiricism in the philosophy of science emphasizes evidence, especially as discovered in experimentation. It's a fundamental part of the scientific method.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you were denying all of that 10 minutes ago, dude.
No, I wasn't. What I was saying is your definition. I don't think that definition. Oh gosh. Again, I apologize. I'm not wording very good. In my estimation, all that philosophy is all well and good. The basics of it are that you conduct experiments to find out what things are and how you can change things or manipulate things or learn things or get to places, go places, use elements to make other elements and do all that sort of stuff. That's all it really is. And to do that, you have to just basically go from the premise that everything is not created, but everything is just exists naturally. That's all it is. Now, when you have a bunch of scientists who don't believe in God, then they'll go by that, and they will necessarily probably call it a philosophy or a philosophical methodology, whatever you want to call it. But at its core, it's really just doing science. Looking at a rock and saying, is that rock very hard? Is it harder than this other type of rock? That's all it is.
But everybody has a philosophy, including scientists, right? Their philosophy is their outlook on how to perform, quote unquote, science, right?
Right. I
So
suppose
that's
you could put it like that.
yeah.
But
It's a
I don't know if I necessarily.
philosophical. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's just I don't know if I put it in the category of philosophy. I think that was the objection earlier.
Oh,
That's
100%.
this was my opinion.
Because you
I think
have
it's
to
just a mythology.
philosophically believe that you can dissect everything, right? You have to take it apart. That you can basically reduce something to its most fundamental, building blocks, essentially. That is a scientific belief.
It's a scientific principle.
Here's the third one. Materialism is the philosophical doctrine that matter is the fundamental substance of nature, holding that all things, including consciousness, mind, and social structure, are results of material interaction.
Yeah, which is pretty related to naturalism in a lot of ways.
Right.
Yeah, so no invoking of supernatural forces, right? No spiritual forces, nothing that's, no Casper the Ghost stuff. You completely leave God out of the equation.
I mean, if you're going to go to the moon, yes, you do. If you're going to
Let's not get into speculation.
Well, aren't you? I mean, if you say I'm going to build a submarine and I want to go down 10 miles, what do you consult your Bible? No, no. You use science to do that.
No, that's fine, but I'm just saying that's a philosophical premise that science is based off of, right? So science itself has foundational pillars that are inherently philosophical. Originally, we're like, no, you don't need philosophy to do science, and I'm like, no, you absolutely do.
I mean, you can, if you want to insist on that, that's totally cool with me.
All right, cool. Then we good.
But
well, I mean, a lot of not maybe every scientist, but I mean, scientists have PhDs, which is a doctorate in philosophy.
Listen to this.
That's another good point.
This is I'm gonna post this because that's where rationality or rationalism or empiricism, they come from this guy named what's his name? William James, and he wrote this essay. It's called The Will to Believe and Other Essays in Popular Philosophy, and it's called The Sentiment of Rationality. I'm just going to read this little excerpt real quick because it's really fascinating. It says, "The facts of the world in their sensible diversity are always before us, but our theoretic need is that they should be conceived in a way that reduces their manifoldness to simplicity. Our pleasure at finding that a chaos of facts is the expression of a single underlying fact is like the relief of the musician at resolving a confused mass of sound into melodic or harmonic order. The simplified result is handled with far less mental effort than the original data, and a philosophic conception of nature is thus, in no metaphorical sense, a labor-saving contrivance. The passion for parsimony, or economy of means in thought, is the philosophic passion par excellence, and any character or aspect of the world's phenomena which gathers up diversity into monotony will gratify that passion, and in the philosopher's mind stand for that essence of things compared with which all their other determinations may by him be overlooked." In a sense, that's what it is, right? Like, you're basically taking some type of, natural phenomena, right? Something that you're trying to understand what it is because it's, it's doing certain things. And then once you put it through the scientific method, if you can put it through the scientific method, right? Now you have an
Right.
understanding of it. Now it's simple. You're not fearful of that thing, right? That's a philosophy. And if you can solve one thing, one problem, or understand one phenomena, then why wouldn't you be able to understand all phenomena eventually? That's a philosophy.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I understand what you're saying now. It's the question. The question though, and I think I was thinking about this earlier, but I'm actually tidying in my garage. Is that you have people of faith and people who are staunch atheists, and they will basically come to the same conclusions given the same set of facts. And one believes that everything comes across is created or came about naturally, and one believes that everything was created supernaturally. But the end result is the same when they go to the scientific method. And so that's all I was earlier trying to get to. And I got stymied a little bit, but that's really it. So it transcends philosophy in that sense, in that you have people that have different philosophical outlooks and beliefs and what have you, and they basically do the same science. They use the same telescopes, the same petri dishes, and everything. Right? That's it. So from that standpoint,
Yeah, but wouldn't you say they just agree on that scientific philosophy, the one that they're agreeing on?
yeah, and they don't think, oh, this was invented, this methodology was invented by this weird philosophical guy 100 years ago or something. They don't do that. They just say, will this happen in this petri dish tomorrow? Will I wake up and there's this mold? That's really what they do. I mean, if you've ever been in the lab, they don't ask, you don't ask these sort of questions. They just ask, will the petri dish be full or empty in the morning?
What would be the philosophy based around the idea that you can do the rice experiment?
Well, it's the same philosophy. You said experiment. Therefore,
Okay,
empiricism.
yeah, I shouldn't have called it an experiment. Observation of the rice experiment. Or the one where you put a seed in the water and you freeze it, and out comes a picture of whatever the seed is supposed to represent, like a sunflower seed will come out looking like a sunflower.
Oh, really? Is that really true?
I've heard about that. I haven't done it myself. The rice
that's
experiment I
interesting.
know is real, though.
That's very interesting.
But you know what's interesting about the rice experiment, right? Do you know how rice absorbs moisture?
Yeah.
Well, if it's absorbing your feelings, essentially,
Okay. Sorry.
your vibration, in a way. I don't know. See, this is the part where you can't get an empirical answer because there's certain things that we don't fully understand. For example, like ESP, right? Like the idea that like you just thought about your sister for the first time in like a long time, and then all of a sudden she calls you in that moment.
Yeah, there's people have that
All
that
the
sense.
time.
Yeah, but you know what? I tell you what, I was actually in this chat and someone, I can't remember exactly what, I'm just gonna make something up. Someone said, hey, Red Cloud, or someone said, mentioned mushrooms. All right, I'm inventing that. I don't know what it was. Someone said mushrooms, all right? And there was on the TV in the room I was in, they were talking about, they said the word mushrooms at almost identical time as someone said mushrooms in the chat in here. And I just thought to myself, now, if that had been something more profound, like something not as mundane as mushrooms, then someone would take that and think, look at that. There's some connection with something that's, not natural or whatever. And they'll make that connection in their minds. Whereas really just coincidence, because it happened to me. Just someone said mushrooms. It wasn't red mushrooms. Can't think what it was. You know what I mean? But then people will go, this important thing I was thinking about or talking about, that's repeated. And so that must have deep meaning. And so people, get that and run with it. But I don't think it's any more deep than, necessarily the mushrooms. It's a crappy example, sorry. I hope that makes sense. What was the thing? How did people get into homeopathy?
Readable that you can show, but it's an energetic property which is always present. I don't know. Geo probably knows a bit more about it.
I would call that a philosophy, beyond a shadow of doubt. Right? Wouldn't anyone here?
Yeah, but if there's measurable results, because it's a frequency medicine of sorts, but if there's actual palpable results, just like if you consume a chemical or some quote unquote medicine or substance and it causes some effect, then we can I mean, sometimes they don't even know all of the biochemical things even happening. I know some things you can take a drug, they can try to test for it, you can try to evaluate what it's doing, but they don't even always know how the interactions are all happening. So in the same way, if you take some kind of homeopathic, formulation, and then if is an actual measurable effect, and of course it's going to be claimed to be debated in mainstream medicine because they kind of try to exclude that. And so on as being valid because it's not as much of the materialistic. It has more. Well, there is some material involved, but it's not at a material dosage level that they would say, is related to other material effects. So it's more of a frequency.
I've heard that that they're threatened by the idea. I don't know. I don't think it's true. I don't think there's any such thing. But
What about the American Army did like a test with one of those drug sniffing dogs, and all they did was they had 1,000 troops, right, 1,000 people in the army, and they got one of the person, they got a piece of their clothing, and they asked the dog to find that one person out of 1,000. It's so your smell is so unique. It's so unique to you out of 1,000. I bet you if they did that out of 1,000,000, the dog would still find that person.
there's cancer sniffing dogs. I've heard now.
Yeah,
To sniff
dogs.
out.
Think about a lot of the sciences that are based off of the philosophical notion, like, for example, fingerprints, that every single individual has their own unique fingerprints, just like you have your own unique soul, your own unique essence, your own chi, whatever you want to call it. There is something that uniquely identifies with you specifically and nobody else. Yet at the same time, we share common traits. For example, laughter, right? The idea that it doesn't matter what language you speak, it literally doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah, you
people
laugh.
understand. You could fart
Yeah.
in the middle of an African tribe and it'd still be funny. Doesn't matter. Like, there's universal truths like that you cannot empirically figure out ever, and I'm okay with that. The thing is, when it comes to someone who's a pure materialist or pure naturalist or just completely void of all metaphysical stuff, all speculation into the mystical or the unexplainable, someone who is that foolhardy, right? They can't even prove that they have love for their own mother. They'll just say it's chemicals. Like, that's crazy.
You know what? I tell you what I think is going on here. And it's been frustrating today, I'll be honest. But I think I just came to a realization here. And that is, I think the typical people that you are going to encounter here are extremely dogmatic people. And so for the globe side, very, very dogmatic. And they are deeply offended and threatened by the idea that someone could believe and think Earth is flat. And it offends them and just their, right? So Tony, what's his name? PhD Tony gets so angry, so wound up, and he gets beside himself. You can just see his face go red. And a few other people.
I've caught him. I think he's a compulsive liar. We've caught him in many different lies. So
who's this? Tony?
No, Great Angelo. Is
Great
very
Angelo,
good
really?
I mean, he claims to have a
Yeah,
PhD
yeah.
in whatever insects or whatever,
but
Angelo just uses Chat GPT for everything.
Yeah, that's been proven too. But even before that, like a long time ago, on recording, I think it was Big Daddy Fleur for Elijah, if you guys know Elijah. He was in here one time, and he asked him, he said, if we say that level means level and there's no curvature and that we want to question it, like, who are you to come in here and tell us, tell another human being that they can't do that? Who are you? He goes, okay, I'll genuinely answer your question. He goes, we are part of a group that is systematically stopping the advancement of conspiracies, and not just flat earth, but all conspiracies that are destroying the American education system. And I quote.
Okay.
So he's part of a group of people that come into these servers specifically to make sure that we don't get any headway when it comes to alternative theories.
Do you think he was just
He's a
that was
nobody.
bluster?
No, that was an honest answer. The way he said
Well,
it.
you don't.
Just so you know,
can't
Great
know that.
Angelo, I have copies of texts from him because I got into a thing with him. He claims he ran a 3:57 mile when he was, I guess,
What?
just out of high school.
That's possible,
Yes.
but it isn't probable.
It's like literally the most elite runners in the world. There's like less than
Yeah.
2,000 people in the
They can
world
do
that have
that, yeah.
ever ran that have ever ran a sub. I mean, you
Name
remember
the who's the first man? Tell me the first man. Quick, you ready? First man.
Roger Maris. What was
Oh,
his
you're so
name?
close. Yes, Roger. Yeah. What's his last name? Quick. Begins with a B.
I can't remember. I thought it was Maris, but
Roger Bannister.
Bannister. He's like in his, I guess, mid to late 60s.
Mm-hmm.
I think
he
you
says-
guys are all flat earthers, really. Like you, Jake,
No, we're just
you Red Cloud, News.
No, we're not.
We're good at detecting bullshit, and
No,
there's plenty
no,
of
that's
bullshit
not
coming from people like him.
No, I'm saying
Okay.
the need that you guys feel to come in here and discuss these topics, right?
I come here because there are interesting people to talk to. Sometimes they're maddening, but at the end of the day, I get to talk to interesting people. If I wanted to talk to people who believe exactly what I believe, I could go in some Baptist Christian forum, and everyone would agree with me. Where's the fun in that?
Well, see, flat earthers are so retarded, so stupid. Like if I had
I
that
never
same, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying this. If I were to, basically demean a group of people, I wouldn't want to hang out with them.
Right. So I think, okay. It irks me as well. It really does. It irks me as well, because I mean, Geo. It's been a few months since I bragged in this manner, and Geo's going to roll his eyes now. But I've met more flat earthers probably in here than anyone in here. Okay, just saying. So if it was all that bad, I wouldn't still be doing this. I wouldn't still come in chat. I think.
Wait, because you went to those conferences, the conference?
Yeah, Cary, North Carolina. Yep. I'll show you my T-shirt again if you want.
Imagine hanging out with the hold on. Imagine hanging out with the KKK every day, like every day, all the time. I'm like, oh, I'm not a racist.
You think that I consider you to be equivalent to the KKK?
No.
Okay. It's just funny, dude. I'm just saying.
Okay. All right.
It's just an analogy. Going to a whole conference of something that you think is like
going to the
totally
KKK
wrong,
conference.
It's just an analogy. I think he's using it.
Well, Red Cloud has foremost sit-down interviews.
Yeah,
and he's got it now with deceased flat earthers, right? You have.
Yeah.
Did you do Bob Noto too?
Yeah, Rob Skiba.
So you've got Skiba and Noto, which like now that's like you'll never no one will ever get an interview with them now, right?
I formally interviewed Bob Nodell. I formally interviewed Rob Skiba, and I talked informally with Flat Earth Fucker Mac Paha.
Do you have videos or articles or whatever about that?
They're actually the company I work with. They're on one of the servers there. I don't know where they are. They're on a hard drive somewhere, but it was a while ago. It's 2018.
What was the topic of conversation in each one of these? Like, what was the general thing that you were talking about?
I went completely. I completely riffed on the questions, and they gave me the answers that they. I didn't write any questions down. I didn't, because I had to drive out there, and what I did on the drive out from Atlanta to Cary, North Carolina, it's not that far. And in the 3, 4, 5, whatever hours, I listened to Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes. And mainly it was Mark Sargent, Patricia Steer, because I knew I was going to be meeting both of them. And so that's what I listened to.
I don't know what your fascination is at that, because you didn't even have it, like, you're going to go meet these people, and I would have thought that you'd have these are very fascinating people. I've got some sort of like pertinent question that doesn't seem to get asked at all. And but you're like, no. you just want to go to see some sort of.
I winged it.
Okay.
I winged all the interviews. I just said, tell me what you you watch the interviews
Basically
if I ever get
rubbernecking.
them published. No,
Okay.
but no, I interviewed. It wasn't just Skiba. It wasn't just. I interviewed Mark Sargent, Dean Odell, Patricia Steer. Gosh, yeah, and I talked to most of them.
Well, Dean
So-
Odell, that guy's completely fucked off from the flat Earth, right?
You just showed up there like you didn't work for any
No.
like a news report. You just showed up like, hey, I'm a guy. I'm really into flat Earth. Can I ask you a bunch of questions? Even though I totally think it's a globe. Like that's what you
No,
did.
I tell you what I did. Here's what I did. First of all, I didn't have a ticket. And it was like 2 days or 3 days before, and I was in some flat Earth forum. And this gal says, hey, I've got a ticket to the Flat Earth conference in Cary, and I can't go. Anyone want to buy my ticket? And I said, I'll buy your ticket. So I literally have my ticket. Flipping well show you right now. I've got my ticket, my pass, and it has a woman's name on the back that I had to scratch out because she couldn't go.
So
I had that.
You wanted to go so bad you bought tickets off the scalper.
So hold on, let me turn my camera on. I'll show
no,
you.
the weird
And then
thing
with
is he's
Cindy.
still got the
It
ticket.
was sold out. It was
I've got the
sold out, if
ticket.
I remember.
This is like how memorable this is of a moment. You are more of a flat earther than
Here we
anyone
go.
here.
Here you go.
You
Cindy?
weirdo.
Cindy.
This is like,
I'm not showing
I mean,
the other side
what is
because
it?
it's got my name on it.
Cole collects Lego, which, but he appreciates it. But you collect stuff that you have no appreciation for whatsoever.
No,
And,
I think he
and
does.
Cammy Nodell gave me that T-shirt I showed off 6 or 7 weeks ago, Gio. That T-shirt, Cammy Nodell gave me that. So everyone got those T-shirts, and I've still got it, and I'm very proud of it.
He's like an anti-enthusiast or something. That's still enthusiastic. I don't get it.
Yeah, I thought Red Cloud. I thought you were working on a documentary. Was where this
But
was
yeah, that's
all
the thing.
supposed to go.
That's what happened. That's what happened. I immediately, within about an hour of seeing Flat Earth for the first time, first of all, came up with the documentary name, Circular Reasoning, and the second of all, I went to the guy that owns the company, the AV company that I work with, and I said, "Hey, have you heard of Flat Earth?" He said, "No." I said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "Yeah," because he's into conspiracies. So I'm like, "Yeah, what do you think?" And I said, "Wouldn't it make a great documentary?" And he says, "Yeah." I said, "Well, this conference, should I go?" He says, "Well, I'm not going to pay you, so you can go on, with your own gear, whatever. If you come back with some interesting stuff, we'll look at it. We'll take a look at it." So that's what I did. So I just showed up, and I showed up with a bunch of gear and my pass, and that was it. I started to talk to people like I was somebody. So yeah,
It was your greatest moment.
And
It was his
I
greatest.
winged all the interviews.
Did you show up with like a
And-
camera and a microphone, and you're looking all kind of spiffy and official? Okay, right.
Exactly.
Yeah, and everyone just
Yeah.
gets drawn in.
Yeah,
Look at
everyone's
you go.
yes. Who would
You just
not
wear a
want to be
costume, and
interviewed?
everyone's like, "Ooh."
And I actually got interviewed myself by. We talked about this. I got interviewed by Alan Burdick, who was the writer for the New Yorker magazine, and he was doing a piece on flat Earth. And so he said, "Can I interview you?" And I said, "Sure thing." And so we had an hour-long conversation because at that point they were watching Robbie Davidson's movie. What is it called? Scientism Exposed. So they were all watching that movie, and so I was like, "Well, I'm going to talk to some other people." And so I decided to do something else while that was going on. And so that's when I was interviewed by Alan Burdick. So yeah, I mean, you can go. I know that is maybe it is weird. I don't know.
I mean, it's fine. The thing is, there's a certain mindset that is obsessed with the people rather than the ideas that the people are bringing.
Well, the ideas are fascinating, and the people are interesting. So the differences between someone like myself and someone like I don't know. I like to use Nasha Shield because he's a really good example. The difference is that I'm not here to come and say you're a bunch of morons and all the time. I just watch a stream with MC Toon.
Just some of the
And
time.
they spent and they spent an hour and a half just saying, "Oh, flat Earth is like, dude, really? This late in the game, and you're still asking what's wrong with flat earthers?"
But Theatrically's got a point. You eventually do get to a frustrated state in which you basically just start lambasting the other as like silly, stupid, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. Or you don't. Or you don't do
No.
that. You find the interest in them, and you find interesting people, and you find them interesting enough to talk to. Right?
Yeah, but I'm just thinking, like, if you were to flip the scenario, like I don't think Scientology is true. There might be some true things in it somewhere, but I would never like go to a Scientology. Like, I'm just trying to think what the psychology that would have to be for anyone, me or whoever, who's not
You're
into
trying
it, to be like, I'm going to go to
Psychology.
this Scientology conference. I'm going to interview people. Like, right now, I have no interest in doing that at all. It'd be like the last thing on my list of things I want to do is like go to a Scientology conference and try to like, they're not interesting to me. There might be some interesting ideas. I'm not trying to knock it all down. Maybe there's something in there that they pulled from something else that could be true or whatever. But I'm just trying to think the psychology I would have to. But you could. I just said Scientology randomly. I
know.
guess you could say anything. Like
Yeah.
any type of thing which based around an idea. I mean, I guess like maybe it's like a UFO conference. Like if I were to, if someone were to go there and they don't think UFOs exist at all, but then they're like interviewing people. To me, it implies that you basically think it may be true. That's the only way I could. The Earth being flat may actually be true, and that's why you're intrigued. Otherwise,
I get that. I really do. I get that. I don't know what my psychologist thinks. I'm the most interesting man. I'm serious. He's like, we have conversations, and my wife's like, "Is he doing any good?" Because all you seem to talk about is like motorcycles and girls and whatever else, and whatever pops in my stupid mind. He just thinks. So maybe is there something wrong with me? Because I don't go in there. Oh, I'm really considering self-harm and all that stuff. So he's sort of spared that trauma of listening to someone talk like that. I have other problems.
Does he give you happy pills or something? Is that why you got to go to him?
No, that's
Is that
a
why you're like
psychiatrist.
so cheery right now?
No, it's like psychologist,
away
not
to
a
you.
psychiatrist. Psychologists cannot prescribe controlled substances. Anyway, maybe there is something wrong, but no, I think it is a really fascinating topic, and especially in here, there are really fascinating people and interesting people. I don't know how else to explain it, other than that. And someday, Geo, I don't know how, but yeah, if those interviews could be made public, that would be great. That would be really great. It's just since then, time's gotten away. I've been very, very busy. Just spent a month not even at home.
What do you think you need to finish the documentary?
Oh, wait, you have these videos on recording? They're like video?
Yeah, dude,
or
we should
like,
watch
You've got
some
them
of them.
archived somewhere.
Pull them
Yeah,
up.
I've got them.
Find that.
I need to do that. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make a note to do that.
They should be compiled into something.
I'll help you, Red Cloud. I'm just curious. I'd like to see some old school stuff because
Yeah, I would like to as well, because I don't know what I asked them. I have no idea.
I'm very fresh to the flat Earth space.
It would be cool.
2021, so.
Here's what I think would be cool is to and going back from the original idea of circular reasoning. It would be more like a history of flat Earth, because you've got some of the OGs in there that are now gone, right? Especially Skiba, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe you can cover the more, kind of like, because the characters have changed over time, right? Jaren was a huge. Did you get Jaren?
I didn't. There was a couple of people I actually did not speak to in any way. One of them was Jaren. One of them was David Weiss. But I spoke to almost everybody else. So I interviewed Mark. I interviewed Patricia. Who else? And there's a bunch of people you probably never heard of that I talked to.
It would have been good if you had Jaren, though, because you could do like a before and after.
Yeah, that's really
Jaren was kind of had like a journalist vibe himself in the whole thing. Like he never really was like an idea guy. I mean, he never really came up with new things, or like he always just kind of like.
Are you kidding?
Regurgitated
lots of great stuff. Did you ever see the one where he compared the blueprint of the moon rover to like the original like Jeep, like World War II Jeep, and he was looking at the geometry of it. It was pretty interesting.
Well, I tell you what is going to be interesting, and I think I really appreciate the kind words here. I think I'm going to see if I can find those interviews. But there are a couple of interesting things, because I interviewed some people who are no longer flat earthers, one of which is Patricia Steer. But I've also interviewed Mark Sargent. He's very much still a flat earther. So that would be an interesting perspective. The other thing is, I didn't actually interview Nathan Thompson, but I did meet him when he was wearing his globe hat. Remember that he wore a globe as a hat with sunglasses. Anyone remember that?
I've
You know,
never
he
thought.
was just,
I've just
he
never
was
thought.
just in a yeah, he was just in a recent YouTube guy's video
Was he? Okay.
convince a flat earther or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was in a room with a professor, and they were debating it out, and then they took him to Griffith Observatory. It was like a YouTuber.
The problem I have really is that you need to have a, you need to have something along the lines of a topic or a script, really, to do a documentary. It sounds like it's all, sort of off the cuff, but like what's the other documentary they did on Flat Earth? What's it called? They had a
Beyond the
little story
Curve.
behind it. Yeah, there was you could track it. It was an interesting little pattern
Well,
they had.
I think nobody has told like a good story of the history of the modern flat Earth movement. I don't think anyone's done like a good documentary showing.
Yeah.
Like to me, that would be the ultimate. Would be like, and it's like I guess it's pretty hotly debated, but I mean, starting with the comedy act of Matt Powerland in
Yes,
2011 on
exactly.
YouTube, right?
Yeah. Right.
And then Eric Dubay and Jaron coming in, and
Dubay.
then Skiba.
Well, it was. Hold on. In order. I think it was Matthew Boyland. That's his name. And then it was Dubay. Then it was Mark Sargent. Then it was Skiba, and then it was people after that. That's the order. So I think Skiba said he got it from Mark Sargent, who said he got it from Dubay.
Got what?
I may be wrong. The idea of the flat Earth. First encountered it through that avenue.
Well, everybody's
Well,
known that humans thought the Earth was planar and stationary since the dawn of time. So I mean, you didn't really get it. But you
We're
just
talking about
inspired
the modern shit.
inspired
Gio,
to look
you
at
asked most people in this server when they became flat earthers, and it wasn't like, oh, I was a flat earther when I was 10 in 1990. Like
Hey,
nobody
Jake, bro.
says that.
You've rolled
Right?
3
They all
times out of
say,
Geo,
oh,
bro.
like 2015 was my awakening or whatever.
Jake.
Jake, curb your enthusiasm, please.
Curb your enthusiasm.
I appreciate it a little bit, though. You just rolled 3 times
Or
over me.
Geo, yeah.
Geo, I think, is an exception.
Oh, he's
I
fine.
don't
Like,
think-
I'm not trying to stick up for Geo or any shit like that. I'm just saying, like, dude, like 3 times you went over the top of him. Just give a little bit of leeway when someone else is trying to jump in.
Sorry. You were sorry. Basically, you were.
I never heard Geo.
No, I'm appealing to your better nature, boys.
Can't hear Geo?
I didn't
You
hear
didn't
him
hear
trying
him.
to. Was I talking when he was trying to talk? 'Cause I didn't hear him.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why. So,
Anyway, I think it's a really good idea. I think that's a really good idea. I just need to talk to people, because here's what, at the time, I did talk to Flat Earths and some of the Glober people, and they said, oh, yeah, I give you loads of help. And I gave people my email, nothing. Not one followed up, not one followed through. I was like, ah. So, and we didn't get funding. So what the difference between us and Behind the Curve, that's it. Behind the Curve is they got funding. They had some deep pockets and they were able to complete the documentary, and then they sold it. And we didn't have deep pockets.
Well, I
I've
don't
never
think
even seen it beyond the curve.
I mean, look what's happening with TFE. Why hasn't the documentary come out? Because it's bally expensive. That's why.
Do you know who's going to be directing that? Who's the new sign on? Red Cloud, have you heard?
Spielberg.
Has everyone else heard the news?
Spielberg, right?
I know he did a video. Duffy did a video.
Yeah, I think he announced it on there. One of the editors for Donnie Darko is basically going to take over the editing role. Oh, you already heard about it? Can't
assuming
believe,
he
mate.
raises. As soon as
My
they
spidey senses are tingling.
As soon as he gets the funding, that's not guaranteed. He'll do it if he gets money. You're not going
we
to just
need
do it for
funding
nothing.
now? Oh, far out.
Yes, it's expensive to make. You kidding? You have no idea. It is bally expensive to make a
They're
documentary.
just going to get the AI to do it. Like, it'll be fine. Trust me.
But I think you could do a lot of that research, to tell the whole story. Just going through YouTube history. Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff has been taken down since then. But
yeah,
talking about the early community, which was like YouTube Hangouts, like YouTube when everyone was doing the Google Hangouts and YouTube.
I tell you one thing though.
I want to know, Red Cloud, just before we move on, what is the cost of actually putting this doco together, do you think? I mean, they're talking about 4 hours, but they just need to get it knocked down. Although I've heard that they've already basically collated and now they just need to cut shit out. And now you're saying there's all this cost. I mean, Duffy just forked out massive amounts of money to get a bunch of people that he has no idea about over there. So, I mean, I don't know how much the trip cost in the end. Was it 300,000 or 400,000? I don't think it was that much, was it? But
it wasn't
whatever
that
the
much.
case. Was it? But how much would it
No.
really cost to get this bloody documentary done?
The problem is I don't know exactly because I don't know how much the editing would cost. You've also got scoring. You've also got there's a bunch of other things you have, and then they apparently have a lot of footage that they could cut, about 4 hours of cut that's already cut down footage. So the stuff has been already edited down to 4 hours. Getting that down to a documentary, which is about 90 minutes, maybe 110. If you really push it, if it's really compelling, which may or may not be, that's very, very expensive.
Yeah, the hard part is going to be like, because it was so freaking boring, they're going to have to add some like CGI effects in there and like knock on Disney's door or something. Get Pixel in there.
There's so many freelance editors though. Like,
I know. Yeah.
That's where your expense is coming
and
from.
there's open source music. Like, it seems like it wouldn't be. I mean, all the expensive, like all the shooting is done, right?
It seems that way, doesn't it? That's the easy. I tell you what.
What do you mean? It
That's
seems
the
that
easy
you're just
part.
claiming that it's not that way. It's very unusual.
It isn't. Wait. Let me.
It can't be that expensive. Okay, I reckon about. What do you guys reckon? Like 10, 20 grand? What do you reckon, guys?
No.
Max. You reckon it's
I can
more than
prove
that?
it. I can prove it to you. I shot plenty of footage too. Right?
Yeah, but you're like old school, man. Like, we got cool new like gizmos and gadgets these days. It doesn't have to be some sort of masterpiece whatsoever, really. I mean, if it's good
Yes, it
quality
does.
content, well, no, if it's good quality content, man, it's pretty easy to edit, right? Like, if you've done a good job on the capture, the only reason why it starts costing a little bit more is because you need to embellish on certain things and come up with all these crazy fandangled ideas to make this one stupid thing look interesting. I don't know, like that's why I'm thinking about it.
I forgot what the proportion is for editing. I forgot what it is. It's like 1 minute a week or something. I don't know. It's maybe not that long, but yeah, it's extremely time. I've edited some stuff. I hate editing because it's so time consuming and frustrating. But then the problem then is that you do you got to then screen it, and you got to make sure that it works. When Thingy screened Star Wars for the first time, it was a calamity, absolute disaster, and he had to do a load to make it into the movie it is now. In fact, at the end of Star Wars, where they have that ticking clock thing, where the Death Star will clear the moon in 1 minute, right? So Luke had to blast the thing before the Death Star cleared the moon, right? That was not in the original movie. That was added in post. If you listen to the movie, watch the movie again, you will notice that all of the references to the Death Star, having to clear the moon, is all done in post. It's all voiceovers. None of the characters say, "We've got to hurry," other than why the Death Star will clear
I
the
never
moon.
paid that much attention to that movie to realize that.
Yeah, that's
thanks to
yeah. It is when you shoot it and then you cut it and then you do everything to it and then you play it and it can be a complete catastrophe. And you got to go back to square one.
Unless they need to do some other interviews now, or to embellish, as I said before. They've got the footage already. All of the hard parts done.
See, you got it wrong. That's the easy part. Sorry, Rixky, I'm not laughing at you, but It is a serious misconception, but that's the easiest part of all. It was easy for me to just grab my camera and get in the car and drive to Cary. Piece of cake, right? 10 years later, I've still got the footage and nothing's been done with it. Anyway, sorry, we can
That's
go
just
on
because you're
from this.
lazy, but you're not trying to raise funds
Yeah,
for it or anything. I mean, you
it's
could just release that footage, bro, and some
yeah,
enthusiast is going to pick it up and
yeah,
then put it into some other idea that they've got. I mean,
yeah. It's true.
just release it, man. Just like do what do you call that?
Step one is find it.
Free to air.
Yeah.
Did
Find
you get them to sign a release when you interviewed them?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They signed releases. In fact, Rob Skiba read every single word, each one, and he took his time doing it. And when he was done, before he signed it, he looked me right in the eyes. It sounds like a great story, doesn't it? He looked me square in the eyes and says, "I want you to." He didn't say this. He was like, "This isn't going to be a hit piece, right?" Or whatever, that words to that effect. And I said, "I promise you, this will not be a hit piece." So I promised Rob Skiba, who is no
It'll be
longer
a no
alive, that
piece.
it wouldn't be a hit piece. I didn't tell him it wouldn't be.
It's even worse, dude. You never released it at all. He's like, that's even
You
more
buried
insulting.
it.
You
It's
asshole.
down there in that basement at the end of
He
Raiders of the
wasted a
Lost
whole
Ark.
hour with you. He had he could have.
I know. Don't worry, I'm kicking myself. All of these things have gone through my head 1,000 times before. Yeah, but with this encouraging input, I think I'm gonna see if I can find that blasted footage.
I was going to
I
say
tell you
earlier.
what, to prove just to show that what I'll do is that if I find it, I will release like 10 seconds of it just to prove that I really do have Bob Nodell on camera.
Yeah, I mean, do you just have it on
for
a
you.
file? Like, I mean, is there because you don't want to play it just because you don't want to release it because you haven't
Yeah.
edited it or something? Otherwise, I mean,
Yeah.
couldn't you just share your screen and pop it up, or you don't want to do that?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that as soon as I find. I'll see if I can find it. As soon as I find it, then I'll be quite happy because it's not lost. As soon as that happens, then I will definitely come in here and I'll say, "Hey, Geo, guess what I found." So
Well, you just
I will
don't know where
definitely
it
endeavor
is.
to do that. I just
You
don't know where it is.
It's
Yeah,
on some memory card somewhere.
yeah, it's some hard drive somewhere. Yeah. So
I mean, at the very least, like even if you don't make a whole thing of it, even just to put all the interviews onto like one video and then just upload that one video with all of them on there or something.
yeah, could do. But it was good. Anyway, we can talk about something else. Sorry to go on and on about this, but
This is going back from a few minutes ago, but like when Jake was sort of saying the idea of like, oh, when people, came to the idea that the earth is actually flat and all of that, whether it was this Eric Dubay or whoever, and Jake was making it sound like, oh, like, when people like come to this. But if you actually flip it, wasn't there a point in history, at least claimed, that a bunch of people, like everyone thought it was flat and stationary, and then people came along and started trying to wake them up, quote unquote, that it was a globe? Like, wasn't it flipped at one point in history where people were running around like, I mean, there must have been a time where someone was like, oh, I heard about it when I was 21 years old that the earth was a globe. Oh, I heard about it when
I've
I was
heard people saying
5.
that. Yeah, Gio, I have heard of people saying that that they believe in flat Earth a long time ago before Dubay. I've heard it's not many, but because it wasn't very well known before Dubay and Allen, but that I have heard people say that. So it's not an unfair characteristic to say that most people got it later than that, but there are some.
Yeah.
OG.
And to be clear, Gio, I said the modern flat Earth movement.
Yeah. Not talking about Rowbottom or Flat Earth Society.
Yes.
But there was a
Flat Earth
globe
Society
Earth
was kind
movement.
of a meme.
But I'm just saying, wasn't there a globe Earth movement back then?
Yes.
No.
It was
Back when?
It's by a group of very rich aristocratic, people. Copernicus, you got Tycho Brahe, you had Kepler, you had Morley, Michelson, you had Newcomb.
These are all people
were-
that came centuries after Columbus, and even in Columbus's time, all educated people knew the Earth was not flat.
Okay, let me ask you something. During that time of the aristocracy, right, the Renaissance, the rebirth, right, do you think that people were believing in a spinning water ball flying around in space?
I love that
they
you put that
believed in
little
a
thing
they,
in.
they believed in a geocentric stationary Earth.
Yeah,
That's right.
I think most of it was geocentric at that time.
Definitely geocentric. The idea of
Right.
spheres and sphericity and balls essentially being what are flying around the cosmos didn't come until the invention of the telescope.
No, that's not true.
Is it?
It
That
came
is.
from the idea of the uniformity of nature and the fact that they were surrounded by spheres
Yeah, but
in the
that wasn't
form of the
popular.
sun and the moon. And they believed that they lived on a geostationary or sorry, in a geocentric stationary Earth that was
Yeah,
a
but
sphere at
idea
the
that
center of the solar system, and that all the objects revolved around it as the
no,
center
I
of.
agree with you. That's Ptolemy. Yes, we all agree. What I'm saying is the idea in terms of being in the populace wasn't popular. Like the
Right.
Pythagoreans, right? Were very that was a very like secretive group. It wasn't like a very popular thing because it completely went against church doctrine.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Geo's question is, it's a good question. So, wasn't it people believed flat Earth, or had the view of flat Earth, and then it changed? I think it slowly changed over time. I don't think it was one particular movement, because they're separated not only by time, but also in philosophies and different
Yeah,
cultures.
cultures. Yeah, like what are we talking about?
To
American?
be
Like what?
to be
Jake,
clear
what are we
though,
talking about? The
to be
world?
clear, the
Yeah, but how did they
geocentrics did
get the?
not believe in flat Earth.
Yeah, but how did they get the whole world? I mean, we know. I mean, it's all depends on what you believe the history is, and I
Right.
mean, people. I mean, people
Yeah.
have many different theories of whether there was a reset or a series or who knows. But if you just go off even somewhat the mainstream, there was a time when, as far as we're told, that everyone on Earth thought the Earth was stationary and planar, and then I guess at some point they claim Ptolemy and others converted it to a stationary globe, even though they didn't even have the theories of gravity or anything to have any of that make sense. But somehow we're supposed to believe they actually did believe that. And then at some point, heliocentrism got brought in as well. So I mean that's a lot of people to convince. Like think about right now, if you want to say most of the world believes it's a globe, think about what it would take to flip them all back. Like that is a serious, venture. Now I know back then if you're going to say okay, well there wasn't really like news media that you could, it was in smaller pockets and there was sort of a progression over time where I guess you might think like or they might say like well the scientists or
Radio.
the aristocrats and yeah, these different kings and queens and royalty would have quote unquote known it was the globe and had their people doing the mapping, and then they would be kind of disseminating it generation over generation, telling people, oh no, it's not flat and stationary like you used to think. Nope, it's actually a globe. But I'm just saying that is a huge thing to do. Even if you consider it happened over generations, you still have to convert a family. Like each family needs to be converted because whatever the grandparents tell the children, they tell their children, they tell their children. You have to convert them all into a whole different belief system, and it's all happened in our modern families. So,
It
Well,
was definitely
to,
it was right before the advent of the Rockefeller education system. If we're talking strictly on American history.
No,
I
that's not
I
true.
don't know. Well, I don't know if you can really say, Geo, with all respect, I don't know if you can really say that the people had a belief one way, and then they were converted, like to believe one religion to another religion. I don't. I think they just didn't think about it.
well, they were flat
I was
earth.
about
I
to
think
say
most
just that.
people.
Well, they were all flat earthers. I mean, Christianity were all flat
No,
earthers.
no. The average.
Hold on, let me finish. The Aztecs, the Inca, the Norse, the Mayans, the Egyptians. You go back through all of them; they were all planar stationary Earth,
But
folks,
the
and that
other
was
thing they were. Sorry, Jake. Go ahead. I was going to jump in, but go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, if we're talking about your average European serf that was living on a farm, that their entire lives they lived within like a 20, 40 square mile area, working as serfs on a farm in the 10th century. I don't think they were thinking about abstract concepts like what they were living on,
Yeah.
right? Whether it was a globe
Yeah.
or that,
I,
it was the it was the educated aristocracy that maybe had were thinking about stuff like that. But the average people, they weren't being convinced that it's a globe or flat. I don't think they had any. There was no abstract. Like you're just. I think we're just spoiled as a society the amount of abstract thinking that we do. But that's kind of a new thing to human beings.
Yeah, that's exactly because we have more time. They had more survival. They're concerned with making sure the pigs didn't die in the frost, right? So why would they care about the shape of the flipping earth? They were more concerned with not starving to death next summer because the winter
They're never
crops
going to
are in
travel.
trouble. And
Yeah, they're not going to travel more than 40 miles in any given direction their whole lives. It's just
so I don't know if it was ever really a philosophy of thought. Um, I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know.
I don't see why you would say that when they had like detailed cosmologies. I mean, every human wants to have some concept of what the world is or what reality is, and many of them had, natural and supernatural, meaning like spiritual, like metaphysical, spiritual, and physical components to their livelihoods. It seems like, and their spirituality. I mean, obviously, if you go to the Bible, even the Bible seems to denote a lot of things about cosmology foundations, and we could go through all that. But the Quran does. Many other ancient texts do, like the Vedic texts. The Vedic texts have very unique detail. They call it Bhumandala. Bhumandala is the earth plane, essentially, and it has all of these layers and all these components to it that they have depictions and writings. So it seems like they were thinking very deeply about it. They weren't just sitting around like, oh, I'm not abstract enough to think about what this whole place is. Like, no, they had very detailed. Now, whether if you think they were right or wrong, but they certainly, it seems to be that it was so important that it's carried into our time now that we even know what these writings were. And it seems like there was a huge focus on cosmology as related to spirituality and to just the nature of their lives, it seems, back then.
Yeah, I don't know. It's difficult for any of us to say because all we have really is the written record, and so we don't know how much of it survived. That's the problem with history, is that we can't really know all that sort of stuff. So it is interesting to theorize. I don't think, though, the general populace, the general people, because most people then again were farmers, and I don't think many of them wondered about the shape of the earth. The philosophers of their day might have done, but those were a tiny majority, a minority. So
Right. So it seems like you
remember,
doubt history, right? You're doubting history. So, like, why don't you doubt like the legitimacy of the Bible?
I'm not doubting. I'm just saying we don't necessarily. I can't be sure that we have the whole picture. For example, Library of Alexandria, right? We don't know what was in the Library of Alexandria. That type of. That's all I'm saying. And the history of the Bible, I take by faith.
most people were illiterate, and there were no such thing as books because there was no printing press, right? Books had to be painstakingly transcribed, and most of the time that was dedicated to Bible, uh, making copies of the Bible. And the literate people in your town would be, the town priests or
priests.
clerics or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And the book they'd be reading from is the Bible because that was one of the only books that were like mass transcribed, right? So it was just like I think that we live in such an information age as well as an age where they have things like sci-fi and things like that where people are just thinking about these concepts. I just think for like a serf that's living in the Middle Ages, I think it's very hard for us to imagine what their life was like, and they're completely illiterate. They weren't exposed to books or movies or sci-fi or anything like that, right? Like I think if you ask them, they'd probably give you an answer like, only God knows or something like that, right? Like if you ask them what the shape of the earth was, they might not even understand. They might not even understand the concept
Yeah, but dude,
of the question.
you're just basically, there's two concepts right here. There's something known as presentism, and there's a doctrine of accommodation, and then there's intellectual snobbery. You're just basically acting like modern humans are intellectually superior to, our ancestors. And then you're using your present conceptual experience of reality, right? And you're comparing it to the past and acting like they were inferior in every way. And that's just not
I
the
never
case,
said they
dude.
were inferior in any way.
Well, just
They were
because,
intelligent in the things that they had to do, right? In
yeah, but
surviving and living. But they were
what
not exposed.
you're saying, hold on, dude, I wasn't done. Chill out. What you're saying, right, has entailments, right? They were just serfs. They were farmers. They couldn't read. Therefore, they didn't have abstract thinking. They had no concept of what the earth might be. That's what you're saying, dude. Right?
Is anyone,
The truth is that you don't need to read or write when you can go to your local church, right, and hear the word spoken, right? And they all had an understanding of biblical cosmology, whether they could read or write. It didn't matter. When we have records of this, where we have diagrams showing what they understood to be reality. Now, the aristocrats, the priests, the scribes that could read and write could then disseminate the information to the serf. And then they could then have their own apprehension of reality without having to read or write. You're completely ignoring that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I think
that generally didn't happen. They generally didn't try to educate their serfs. The serfs got the amount of education they needed to be serfs and no more. I don't think a lot of them could read or write. So the other thing I've forgotten. It was good too. Blast. Oh,
No,
Clarkson's
yeah,
Farm.
I'm granted you.
Have you seen the show Clarkson's Farm? Anyone seen Clarkson's Farm? Jeremy Clarkson from Top Gear.
Yeah.
He has a farming show. There's a guy on that named Caleb, right? And Clarkson asked him how many books he'd read, and he said he wasn't sure if he'd read any. So you think he's concerned with the shape of the Earth?
Hold on 1 second.
Just ask yourself, how many of everyday of the population today actually do think about the Earth and the cosmos and so on and so forth on a daily basis? Not many, I would suspect.
Today,
the majority of people don't even know what causes the seasons. The majority of the people don't know what causes the phases of the moon.
That's all that's logically irrelevant to the topic at hand. We're wondering whether they had the capacity of abstract thinking at all, right? And this idea, you guys keep saying that most people today don't even think about the shape of the Earth. Did you ever study psychology in high school, dude, or in college?
Don't you think people were acting?
Hold on, dude. Wait. Did you ever study psychology in high school or college?
I did so in the officer cadet.
Do you know? Have you ever heard about the concept, the identity of self?
Yeah. But the thing is,
hold on, dude, bro. Do you know that the identity of self includes your home, right? Which includes the earth that we live on. Most people have included the globe concept as part of their identity of self. Because the earth is our home. Your home is part of your identity, dude. So yes, I guarantee you every single individual at some point in their life has considered the concept of the home that we live on, which in most people's worldview is a fucking globe. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's why they point to it in children's schools the minute you get there, because they know the kids are going to be asking those questions. They have to fulfill it with, hey, this is what it is.
Yep.
You can't just ignore it. You can't just be like, well, it's a globe and we're not going to tell the children. The kids want to know. Everybody's thought about that at some point. Like, what is the nature? The thing is, the globe just went in there, and so we were like, oh, it's that. There's a picture of it when we were very young. But if you were not given that, they know children are going to be asking about it and inquiring and thinking about what is the nature of the, like Lion said, it is a part of your identity. Like your city you live in is part of your identity. If you're a male or female, maybe what kind of music you listen to, like all of these facets, the home you actually live in, your parents, your family, and then that does extend to the city you live in, the state you live in, the country, and then all the way to the whole earth.
Yep. And they're saying that nobody thinks about that, dude. Come on, man.
I don't know about anyone else.
That's not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying. What we're trying to say is that normally during a normal day for ordinary people, even today, you don't actually philosophize and think that much about that. Just like they did at those times, they were occupied by doing other stuff. But it's like they said when modern farming and we started building society, some people within those groups had a bit of time to sit around and think, and instead of just being hunting and gathering all the time.
What?
That was the point.
Hold on a second. Pause.
Go into the street. Go into the street and ask 20 people. Ask 20 people what DNA means, or what the initials mean, or ask them You know,
Yeah, but that's not. Hold
any
on.
question.
On Red Cloud.
They don't know. They don't care.
I gotta challenge what Stefan said just about farmers and